Next man up, 1025, The Game. Jake Lyman, Christian Skelton with you on this Reaction Monday, brought to you by Pella Windows and Doors of Nashville. We are broadcasting live from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville Studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. It is the week before training camp, SEC Media Days, but it being the last chance for some vacation. Parker Kelly getting a much-deserved break this week. So, Christian, pulling some double duty, producing the morning show, and now you're in with me for 3 hours. We love it.
I'm very excited. This should be a fun time. The stream is back up and running too. It was running, just no video.
Right.
But the restarting the computer works, and we couldn't do that during the show. So
yes,
we're good now.
Christian doing a great job getting some technical difficulties sorted out before we get going here. So should be fun. Christian and I going to hang out throughout the whole show today. I mentioned again, SEC Media Days getting underway. Greg Sankey just spoke down in Tampa. We'll have 4 teams coming up today, including Tennessee later on this afternoon. Kentucky will speak, Missouri, and Oklahoma. We will get to all 16 teams throughout the week this week. I mean, maybe Thursday it might be a little tough to get to all 4 teams when TD is in, but we're going to preview all 16 teams throughout the show here this week. So excited about that. Nick Frazier also is going to join us later in the show to talk some NFC and World Cup. World Cup final yesterday. Not bad. Spain dominated, but it went to extra time, still tied. The red card on Argentina, it felt like that was going to be the one that broke their back, and eventually Spain was able to get the go-ahead goal and win it. But overall, it was moderately entertaining for the World Cup final.
Yeah, pretty fun game. I mean, I honestly missed the first red card on Martinez, so I was like, wait, red card?
I thought they went straight red too. I was like, man, really? But no,
and I guess I missed it because it wasn't a red card for an actual foul. It was just because he was arguing with the ref, as I technically think what the first yellow was. But yeah, like you said, pretty solid game. I mean, didn't live up to 2022. I don't know if anything ever will. That was one of the best soccer games probably of all time. But I mean, you know, Spain completely just dominated. I mean, what was the shots? Like,
it was 20 to nothing.
Yeah, it was like 20 to, at one point it was like 20 to nothing Spain, which is just unheard of, especially with somebody like Messi playing for Argentina.
Argentina did, after going down 1-0, they got a couple of chances late where I thought they might actually equalize, but it would have felt wrong if Argentina went to PKs and won, just given the way that game went. Spain was the field was tilted basically from start to finish. It was all Spain. They were able to finally break through. Nico Williams with a nice pass to set up the game-winning goal. So, Spain, they were the best team. They allowed 1 goal throughout the entire tournament?
I believe it was 1, which I think was to Belgium, because that game went at extra time, correct?
Yeah, I saw some U.S. fans were saying the U.S. losing to the only team that scored on the World Cup champion makes you feel a little bit better, right?
Well, and what chance in the world did we have against Spain? I mean.
Right, yeah. Now, looking back, there's no chance we would have scored against Spain. So, it was overall, I thought it was a great World Cup. You got some really fun games. I mean, I look back at really all of the England games were intriguing, with Mexico at the Azteca, and then England-Norway was a great game. Even the third place game on Saturday, that's exactly what you expect from a third place game, where they're not playing much defense. You get excitement. It was 4-0 England. Then France scores 3 straight to get back into it. Like, I was not locked into the third place game. Again,
neither was I.
It didn't really, it didn't move the needle for me, but I did have it on in the background. And when I looked up and saw France had scored 3 unanswered, all right, this is fun. This is at least fun to have on and just be kind of like background noise for me.
It's funny. I think France-England is kind of the final I wanted in the back of my head, but I got it in the third place game instead, and I didn't even end up watching it.
Right.
But I obviously watched the highlights later, and man, I mean, I'm glad that Mbappe, Bellingham both played, because, the people I talk to that know a lot more soccer than I do is like, yeah, Notre Dame would opt out of this game. And I was like, okay, well, I'm not expecting any stars to play in this game, but Mbappe is going for the Golden Boot. It makes sense why he played.
Yeah, I mean, the third place game, I don't really understand the point of it. I mean, you're making these guys stay across the across the ocean for another couple of days, basically a week. They've got to start getting ready for their club seasons too. Premier League starts up in a couple of weeks here.
So.
I mean, it was fun. It was fun. I don't really get the point of it, but I thought that was a more entertaining game than the final, for sure. But obviously, very different types of games considering what was on the line. What do you think of the halftime show yesterday?
I guess it was okay. I mean, it wasn't really my cup of tea. My girlfriend liked it.
So it was just a lot.
I guess that's the baseline is if somebody that didn't actually watch the game but watched that liked it. I guess they did the job. But it was so much going on at once. That would be my main complaint.
It's like Madonna starts it off. For some reason, the Muppets made multiple appearances during the halftime show, which I was a little confused by.
Them playing Seven Nation Army was honestly kind of cool. I was like, wow, this is nice.
Seven Nation Army, which that went into what? BTS and Justin Bieber after that. And then at the end, the Muppets came back with a bunch of kids and Chris Martin. So that, I mean, it was something to watch.
We got a Ted Lasso appearance.
There was a Ted Lasso appearance. Shakira, as she does at every World Cup event, had to make an appearance too. So it was fun. Overall, decent sports day yesterday. I said it on Friday. I loved it Sunday because it's the Open and you're playing across the pond. The golf was over by like 12:30, 12:45, and then you could gear up for the World Cup final, unlike the other majors where it's like you probably would have had to dual screen it. So it was great. Ryan Fox, I mean, the 18th hole to win his first major championship, just ice in his veins. I kept thinking, I was like, there's no chance he's going to birdie 18. We're going to get a playoff. And stuck it to about 8 feet and then drilled the putt. I mean, it was great.
I absolutely love how fast he plays golf because I played golf in high school, and I think that's one thing that probably affected me in a negative way sometimes is I would just take too long on shots, just overthink it, psych myself out. And that's basically what he said. He said, that's why I play so fast, because the longer you take to hit these shots, like the more you're going to put some bad thoughts in your head and bad things can happen.
Yeah. Haven't you realized that playing golf? It's like, the times where you just walk up to the ball and hit it. Usually those are your best shots. Like the ones that I stand over and take a couple practice swings, those are the ones I just shank.
Those short little 5-footers for par, or 3-footers for par. I mean, it's almost like if you just go up and hit it, don't mark it and read it and everything, just go hit it. It feels like it goes better most of the time.
Exactly. Like if you just don't think about it, usually you get better execution. I was playing a couple weeks ago, and I was probably like 225 out on a par 5, and of course every guy is like, oh, I'm going to try and get it there in 2. And I pulled the 3-wood and just top it 5 yards in front of me, and I had stood over it. So I walk up 5 yards in front of me and just take a hack at it again and stick it onto the green. I'm like, of course, why couldn't I have just done that the first time?
You still make par at least?
No, I probably 3-putt. I couldn't tell you, but
it happens.
But yeah, Ryan Fox, it's been kind of a strange year for the majors, right? Like, why am I blanking on
Aaron Rai?
Aaron Rai wins the
PGA.
Yeah. And then Rory goes back to back at the Masters. You get Ryan Fox at the Open. So it's been a kind of a strange year. I mean, we saw JJ Spawn win it last year too. So you're getting new blood in there, but overall fun sports weekend. You got the World Cup champions in Spain. Parker and Connor, of course, aren't here for me to rub it in their face that I won our little pool we did at the beginning of the World Cup. I had the first overall pick. I picked Spain. Spain won. So
yes, Connor mentioned that on Saturday that y'all did a little team draft, and
we did. We each picked Spain. 3 teams. I had Spain, Portugal, and the United States. Connor did have Argentina, so he could have sealed it yesterday with a win. But I got the victory there. It means absolutely nothing, but we will take it. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. We'd love to hear from you. Our phone line's driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Lots to get to on the show today. Again, SEC Media Days are underway. Brett Venables is at the podium right now in Tampa as he gets ready.
Apparently, they played Rocky Top when he walked up.
Oh, no.
They've done it again because last year they played A&M's War Hymn for Sark when he walked up. So
that's so funny. I mean, I guess it would have been better if they flip-flopped it and played Oklahoma's fight song for Heupel, because at least it would at least kind of made sense. But I don't think Brett Venables has many ties to Tennessee. But Venables is at the podium right now. We're going to talk about all 4 teams that are speaking today in Tampa, including a lot of time on the Vols as they get ready for the 2026 season. Again, Nick Frazier going to join us at 9:45, talking some football, reacting to the World Cup final yesterday, and NSC getting back in the win column after the international break. But coming up next, let's talk some Titans. The rookies are set to report to training camp this week. We'll talk about some of the day 3 picks who could make an impact for this Titans team coming up as training camp begins in just about a week. 615-737-1025. Jake Lyman, Christian Skelton, next man up here on 1025 The Game. Next man up, 1025 The Game. Jake Lyman, Christian Skelton with you on your Monday morning. Football offseason almost done. All of our football offseason coverage on 1025 The Game is presented by Tennessee Brewworks. Raise a glass with Tennessee Brewworks and Parman Tractor and Equipment, providing totally outrageous customer service. Visit parmantractor.com. We are just about a week away from training camp starting. Rookies report this week, veterans next week. We're going to talk about the rookies here, but let's start our Titans talk by going to the phone lines, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Jared in Spring Hill is called in. Jared, thanks for calling. Good morning.
Hey, good morning. This may not be a popular idea, but just hang on with me. I have some justification. But
All
I
right.
was looking last night on the Titans roster, just going through, seeing how many names was going to be reporting and all that in the next coming days. But naturally, there's 9 and 27. Nobody's wearing those numbers, and Tennessee, I feel like maybe could do something. Has an opportunity, maybe because they did bring out number 1 out of the Hall of Famer for Cameron Ward to wear. So would it be kosher, or would the idea I feel like it would be kind of cool to honor number 9 and number 27, kind of similarly how LSU has the number 7 as the guy on the team wears number 7. Could that be something that the Tennessee Titans could do to kind of honorize those numbers 9 and 27 by kind of giving it to those guys? And I know they're protected, but they just brought a number out of the Hall of Fame for number 1. So why are we protecting number 9 and 27 as much as they are as well? Sorry, that's my kid in the background. But anyway, it's just something I had. It's just something I had in the background, just kind of going through the brainwaves. Because Femi has number 7. There's just some of the ones on there, just man, those numbers,
Yeah.
But, just something to chew on. I'm just really excited. So tighten up, fellas. Love the show.
Yeah, thanks for the call, Jared. I think there's different ways that you can honor players, right? As he mentioned with LSU, they give 7 out to their superstar, like Tyrann Mathieu or Pat Pete wore it, right, when he was there, I want to say. So their star defensive player usually wears 7. Is it Harold Perkins wore it last year?
I think so. Yeah, they do usually give it to a defensive guy, I guess.
Right. And then 18 at quarterback for them is a big number.
Right.
Nussmeier moved into that. Is that right?
I don't know if they always wear 18. Nussmeier was 18.
Right.
Yeah.
But I know what Jared's saying is some schools, it's they give out a number to honor the past. The Titans, as most NFL teams do, they retire those numbers. I can't think of an NFL team that's we give out this number, because in the NFL, I think players more determine their own legacy, right? It's not like when Derrick Henry showed up, it's oh, you're going to wear 27 because Eddie George wore it and you're the star running back. Even though that is the case at a lot of colleges. If you're a star player at a certain position at a given college, they'll usually give you that number because you can't retire numbers in college, except for a few here and there. There's too many guys on the roster to retire numbers.
Yeah, I mean, you can try, but it's never going to last.
At the very least, you can double up in college. You can have an offensive guy wear 6 and a defensive guy wear 6 or whatever it is. Matthew in Nashville makes a good point here. Number 11 at Penn State is a big deal. Abdul Carter wore it, Micah Parsons, and so on and so forth through the history. I get what he's saying. I think that the NFL is always going to be more about retiring numbers than letting people wear it. I know they did just take 1 out of retirement for Cam Ward, but that was Warren Moon gave his blessing for that. I think with the Titans, you look at it and you say, you've got 3 running backs who all wore different numbers that all I don't think you're ever going to retire Chris Johnson's jersey. He's going into the Ring of Honor, which is great, but I don't know if he's at jersey retirement level. You've probably got to go into the Hall of Fame for that to happen. Derrick Henry is going to go into the Hall of Fame, and I would assume 22 is going to get retired. No one's wearing 22 right now, and I think that's probably why. I think they're soft launching that right now. But 28 has been worn plenty of times since then. I think 27, just no one's ever going to wear it again. They've retired it. They've retired 27. They've retired 9. I don't think they're ever going to go and say, nope, the quarterback's going to wear 9 and the running back's going to wear 27.
I almost think maybe having Spears or Pollard wear 28, maybe just for this year, would almost maybe be cooler for something like this, just as a tribute to
right.
CJ, just for this year, or maybe just keep it going. I don't know.
Yeah,
maybe that could just be the running back number.
Jarek Reed is wearing 28 this year, the safety, but
okay.
Not a bad idea from Jared, and I get it. That's why a lot of colleges do it that way. 7227 texts in and says one player wears the 18 for LSU. It's an honor. 7 was recently retired, but yes, that's the idea, is that you have these numbers that have been historically your best player or your quarterback, and it's an honor to wear that number. The NFL just doesn't do that quite as much. But I did want to get into the rookies here because rookies report on Thursday for Titans training camp. Veterans report next week, and you'll get going with the first team practices coming up in the next 10 days or so. We are getting close to football season. And with the rookies, a lot of our conversations are going to center around Carnell Tate, Keldrick Falk, their first-round picks. And I almost included Anthony Hill in this discussion, but when you look at those three guys, there was such a gap between draft picks for the Titans. They took Anthony Hill at 60 at the end of the second round, and then they took Fernando Carmona with the third pick in the fifth round. So there's a big gap. I think you expect Carnell Tate, Keldrick Falk, and Anthony Hill to all be contributors this year in some way. For Carnell Tate, you expect a lot more. He was the fourth overall pick, but you expect Falk and Hill to be contributing defensive players for you. The day 3 picks, I think it's a little more hazy about what their roles are going to be. I want to know, which day 3 pick do you think is going to have the biggest impact as a rookie this year? As they come in, there's 5 of them. Who do you think is actually going to play a decent role on this team despite being picked later on in the draft this year?
My pick is Singleton just because I know Tyjae Spears' injury history, and nothing has shown me that nothing against Tyjae if he's listening, but nothing has shown me that he's going to stay healthy for an entire season. He's never been out like the entire year or anything, but he's always had at least a little 2-3 week span where he's out. So I think that would be my answer just by default, just because we've never seen Spears stay healthy for an entire year, and we've always had to see younger guys come in to fill that role for him.
Yeah, and I agree with that. I think Singleton is the name that stands out when you look through those 5. It's Carmona, Singleton, Marshall, Coogan, and Jaron Kanik. Those are the 5 day 3 picks. And when you look at those guys, there's a realistic path to make an impact for Nick Singleton. As you said, Tyjae Spears can never really stay healthy. He sprained his ankle on the first drive of the preseason last year and ended up having to miss about a month. So Nick Singleton, I do think there is a path for him to get a realistic, third down back role. I mean, Tony Pollard has done a nice job of staying healthy, but he's getting up there in age. You never know. Maybe by the end of the year, Singleton could end up getting the lion's share of the carries. So I think that's the one with the most reasonable path. I'm also intrigued by Jackie Marshall, just because of the way Robert Saleh uses his defensive linemen. He's going to rotate guys. You look on the interior, Jordan Elliott, Solomon Thomas, those guys aren't going to be used to rush the passer on third downs quite as much. Jackie Marshall isn't going to be a run stuffer. I don't think you're going to see him on first down or second down very often. He's going to be a guy you do bring in to go get after the quarterback. So I do wonder, again, I don't think Jackie Marshall is going to be a 5-sack guy, but I do think that there could be times throughout the year where you notice Jackie Marshall on the field making a play or two, which I think is probably more than you could say for a lot of these guys.
Yeah, I mean, depth on the D-line is always a big thing. I mean, it was, why can I not think of his name? Went to the Jets.
T'Vondre Sweat.
I could not think of his name at all. I mean, I know he's not here anymore, but I mean, we know he had the injuries too. And I mean, that's always something you're going to have to deal with a position as physical as a defensive line. So, I mean, I could definitely see him making an impact for sure.
Well, you just look at Robert Saleh, and I'm glad we had Nick Suss on last week because he kind of went through the numbers of how Robert Saleh uses his defensive linemen. And it's true. You don't see guys out there, even if you're Quinnen Williams, like he had with the Jets, and it's going to be the same with Jeffrey Simmons. You're not going to see those guys out there for 60 snaps a game. It's probably going to be more like 40 to 45, and you're going to try and put them in the positions to where they can go make an impact on the biggest plays of the game. You're going to have Jeffrey Simmons fresh against a guard who's been out there for every single snap. So you look at that defensive front, I think Thomas and Elliott are probably going to be your run-stuffing defensive tackles. You're going to run them out there for 1st and 10 or 2nd and 6 or something like that. And then you're going to sub on your pass rushers, and you're going to see a lot of Jeffrey Simmons on third downs. You're going to see a lot of John Franklin Myers and Keldrick Falk. But I do think Jackie Marshall, out of these day 3 picks, I think there is a realistic path to him having a pretty defined role in this defense, given just the way that Robert Saleh uses his defensive linemen.
Yeah, and I mean, I feel like when you look at these day 3 picks, other than maybe Kanik, just because, obviously Gunnar Helms kinda got tight end locked up,
Yeah.
I feel like there's a path to all of them making an impact right away.
Right. I mean, the offensive linemen are interesting, and we can talk about that coming up next because we just don't know enough about center and right guard right now to make any kind of sweeping generalization of, oh, they're not going to play this year because Cordell Volson's in front of him and he's not going to pat. Like, who knows? Maybe Fernando Carmona does have a great camp. I don't know. I wouldn't expect that he's going to play much this year, but because there's so much up in the air with those two positions, you just never know. So we can talk about the offensive lineman coming up next. Our question is, which of the Titans' day 3 picks from this past year have the best path to play a role for the Titans in 2026? Nick Singleton, I think, stands out. I think Jackie Marshall. We'll talk about the other options coming up next. 615-737-1025. Again, Nick Frazier going to join us via our phone lines coming up at 9:45 to talk some soccer. Then we'll get into SEC Media Days coming up at 10 a.m. Vols going to take the stage later on today, along with Oklahoma, Missouri, and Kentucky. Jake Lyman, Christian Skelton with you on a Reaction Monday here on Next Man Up, 102.5 The Game. Next man up, 102.5, The Game. Jake Lyman, Christian Skelton with you on this Monday morning. Nick Frazier going to join us in 15 minutes, talking some football. World Cup has wrapped up yesterday. Spain wins their second World Cup in history. We'll also get some thoughts on NSC as they were back on the pitch on Friday night, a 1-0 win over Atlanta. But we're talking Titans here to start off the show. We were going through some of the day three rookies, the roles that they might play. And I pointed out Jackie Marshall could end up actually getting a decent amount of run for Robert Saleh just because of how much he rotates the defensive line. 9194 on the text line says, if the other offense is playing hurry up, will they be able to get Jeffrey Simmons in? And you're right that there are ways that teams can combat this with how much Robert Saleh likes to rotate his defensive linemen, that if the offense doesn't sub, you don't necessarily get the opportunity to sub your guys in. But Robert Saleh has been doing this for a long enough time. I think he's got ways to combat hurry up offense. And he's going to be able to pick and choose his spots where he's going to put Jeffrey Simmons in. If you get to the end of the game and the other team is running a 2-minute drill to try and go tie the game or win the game, that's when he wants Jeffrey Simmons to be fresh and to be on the field for every snap. So, yeah, maybe there would be a play or two in the first half where you want to get Simmons in and maybe the other team doesn't allow you to get that opportunity. But the point of this is to have him fresh and ready to go for the biggest moments of the game. So I don't think it'll be an issue. Again, Robert Saleh has been doing this at a high level for a long time. I think he's got ways to combat when other teams try and rush them a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, the no huddle would be my main concern about how he does that. But I mean, it's the NFL. It's not like college where half the country is running a no huddle scheme. The NFL, I mean,
right.
Hardly anybody does that unless it's a 2-minute situation.
Right.
So.
And I think once you get to 2-minute, especially if it's towards the end of the game and it's close, Jeffrey Simmons is not coming off the field. Like, that's when Robert Saleh wants his best players out there. The reason you rotate them is to make sure they're fresh for those big moments. So I did want to flip over to the offensive side of the football here, because the offensive line is very obviously one of the biggest question marks for this team heading into 2026. You look at center, you look at right guard, those are open competitions. And when you look at the competitions, there isn't a whole lot to make you feel great about it, right? Like Cordell Volson or Jackson Slater. I think Slater's got potential, but he has not started in the NFL yet. Volson did not play a snap last year because he was injured. So again, not great options. At center, you got Austin Schlottman, who's been a career backup over 8 years. You've got Andre James, who hasn't been a starter over the last couple of seasons, although he did start for a couple of years in Vegas with Carmen Brasillo. And then you've got rookies. You got Fernando Carmona. You've got Pat Coogan. I do like both of those guys as long-term depth pieces, and that's what you're looking for in the 5th or 6th round. Maybe you find a diamond in the rough and Pat Coogan ends up being your starting center for half a decade, but I don't know if that's what you can expect. And I definitely don't think you can expect him to step in and be your starter right off the bat as a rookie.
Yeah, Coogan especially, I'm very excited about, but like you were saying, I don't know if we can expect him to just fill right into center if he's needed and perform at a super high level in his rookie season, being a 6th round pick. But I did really like that pick just because it's the 6th round guy that was great in college in Indiana, really nothing to lose by taking a flyer on a guy like that in the 6th round. So that was either him or Singleton was probably my favorite pick of the draft, just from we have nothing to lose at this.
I agree.
This pick,
I love the pick. He is not physically what you would want as an NFL player. Like, he's not quite as big. He's not quite as fast, but we have seen in the past that center is one of those positions where you can get away with not being the most physically gifted guy. Paul Kuharsky, I think, wrote a great piece about this offseason, about how the Titans value smart and tough. And that's always what it is. And Pat Coogan is like the king of that. It's, oh, well, he's smart and he's tough. And that can kind of fill in the gaps for where he's lacking physically. And sure, that's what you want, especially at a position like center. Smart and tough. That's what Ben Jones was. I mean, that's a lot of the reason why Ben Jones was so beloved around here, is because he was the guy who as long as his arm was attached to his body, he was going to find a way to be out on the field for you. So I think Pat Coogan brings a lot of those things, but you still have to be able to physically match up with the high level of defensive tackles you're going to be facing at this level. And they keep getting better. And teams are valuing those positions more, getting pushed from the interior, Pat Coogan has to prove that he can stand up physically with the defensive lines he's going to face at the NFL level.
I think Ben Jones is a great comparison there. I mean, if you could get 70% of what Ben Jones was for the Titans here, I think that'd be a win out of Pat Coogan, where he took him. Man, I'll never forget that video of him and Vrabel after that. I don't remember who they were playing that game.
It was the Packers game.
The Packers game. That's right. What injury did he have? That I don't remember.
I forget, but it was the clip where they're coming off the field and Vrabel's like, I've never seen anything like that. Like, that's one of the most amazing things I've ever seen.
Tears about it.
Right. And that was the last win for the Titans that season. So looking, Ben Jones, 6'3", 308 was his measurables. Let's see what Coogan is. Coogan is 6'5", 310. So, actually a little bit bigger than Ben Jones. So I like Pat Coogan, but I don't think he's going to be able to be your starting center this year. I think he's more of a project guy. And the best case scenario for the Titans is that the young guys prove themselves, either whether it's in practice or if they are thrown into the fire this season, and you head into next year feeling good about, hey, maybe Pat Coogan's our starting center and Jackson Slater can start at right guard. And then you don't have to look at, all right, well, you need a new left tackle, you need a new center, you need a new right guard, maybe you need a new right tackle. You can at least pencil in some of those young guys there, but it's way too early to just say, all right, Pat Coogan, you're the center of the future. Jackson Slater, Fernando Carmona, you're the right guard of the future. They've got to go out and prove that they can stand up at the NFL level.
Yeah, I mean, you got to be able to prove it. And like you said, it's going to be projects and it's going to take a while, but I still just really like those guys there because, with them being day 3 picks, like I said, you really have nothing to lose. And I mean, the offensive line is always going to be a position where you're trying to find diamonds in the rough. And, I mean, the Titans have experience with that for sure in the last few years. They have tried to fix the offensive line in free agency, and it has not worked one time.
There's been so much investment into the offensive line with just absolutely no results, except for Pete Skoronski. Like, Peter Skoronski is the one guy that they've invested in who is actually, you've looked at and you're like, yeah, that one worked. Everybody else, it's either been average or way below average. So we'll see. But speaking of diamonds in the rough, there's one undrafted free agent that I am excited to see in training camp. And you can't get too excited about undrafted free agents because, again, if they were good enough to be drafted, they would have gotten drafted. But Emil Wagner from Notre Dame, I think, is a player that I'm keeping my eye on because I have made it clear I'm not inspired by what the Titans have behind Dan Moore and J.C. Latham at tackle. And if one of those guys gets injured, which has been a problem, you're going to see Brandon Crenshaw-Dixon step in at tackle. And they seem to really like him. And TD, I forget who he was telling me. It might have been like Quandre Diggs or somebody who played for the Titans on defense. He asked him, who is not being talked about enough that's going to be good? And he said Brandon Crenshaw-Dixon. So maybe he is going to be a solid swing tackle, but I don't know if I feel good enough about it right now. So Emil Wagner coming in, undrafted guy. I don't feel great about it, but he was good at Notre Dame last year, and maybe he is one of those diamonds in the rough that at the very least could add a little bit of depth to that room that you don't have right now.
I hate to pile on the offensive line, but I mean, I don't see how it can get much worse.
Right. I mean,
that would excite me about it. I mean, if Latham or Dan Moore went down, hopefully not. But if that was the case, I mean, at least give you a new look. If, they could improve this year, we don't know. But if they haven't improved, it'd be like, oh, at least we get to see what we have behind them.
Yeah. I mean, and Brandon Crenshaw-Dixon was an undrafted guy. Wagner's an undrafted guy. Neither of them would make me feel good, but like, at least you get another swing. It's like, all right, there's at least somebody else back there that maybe could prove to be decent. But the Titans, they didn't address the offensive line in any meaningful way this offseason, which it's very concerning. Benjamin on the text line says, besides Ward, Latham will decide if this team is for real over the next few years or not, in my opinion. I agree with you. Like, if you're Cam Ward, of course, this is the most important year for him, and he is the most important player on this team, bar none, hands down. If I go number 2, it's J.C. Latham, because I think outside of having to find a new quarterback, the next worst thing the Titans could have to do this offseason is have to replace both tackles. And if JC Latham doesn't prove it this year, you might be having to replace both tackles next year.
Yeah, it's definitely probably a prove it year for him. It's probably a prove it year for a lot of other guys on the line too. I mean, I don't know specifically who, but I mean more, yeah.
Yeah,
I
and
I couldn't think of his name. Sorry.
and then center and right guard too. It's like we talked about it. You'd love Coogan, you'd love Slater, you'd love Carmona. Some of these young guys to prove they can be starting level players, but until you see it, you can't count on that. And as of now, I would look at it and say Titans likely have to go find 3 starting offensive linemen next offseason. Now, all you need is 1 or 2 of those guys to pop, and it makes things look a whole lot easier up front. But as of now, it doesn't look great. 615-737-1025. Titans rookies reporting later this week for training camp. And we will see. I think the top 3 draft picks, Tate, Falk, Hill, you expect them to play big roles for the Titans this year. The day 3 guys, it's a little bit more gray, as expected, when you're taken later in the draft. 615-737-1025. Coming up next, Nick Frazier going to join us. We're going to talk some NSC. We're going to talk some World Cup and wrap up hour number 1. Jake Lyman, Christian Skelton, next man up, 1025 The Game. Next man up, 102.5 The Game. Jake Lyman, Christian Skelton with you, finishing up the first hour on this Reaction Monday, and we now go to our phone lines, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. With all the moving schedules, we won't have Dr. Crane on tomorrow, so we had to get his thoughts on the football right now. Nick Frazier joins us. Dr. Crane, thanks for calling in. Appreciate you making some time.
Absolutely. Thank you, Jake, for having me on, man. Yeah, what a crazy weekend of soccer. I mean, if you're a Nashville local, you're probably thinking Nashville SC gets the 1-0 win. You watch the third place game between France and England, a 6-4 thriller. And then everybody's probably thinking, all right, we're watching the World Cup, and what a dud that was. A bunch of flops, just one goal to decide it all. But overall, I would say it was a successful weekend.
Yeah, let's start with the World Cup final. Spain pretty much dominant from start to finish. They just couldn't actually get the go-ahead goal until extra time. They end up winning 1-0, win their second World Cup. What were your thoughts on the way Spain was able to play throughout the tournament en route to the championship?
Yeah, Spain is one of those teams, like I've been saying all tournament long, just so fundamentally sound. I think the way, and I kind of mentioned it a little bit on Friday, they were just going to slowly, kill away Argentina's attack by just continually possessing the ball, creating more lateral switches. And that's kind of what we saw. We saw their midfield with Rodri and Fabian Ruiz kind of drop deeper back, which allowed more of, I'd say, Argentina to press higher up because of the frustration of not possessing the ball. And then that created a lot of pockets of space between the back line and their midfield. So that's when Spain said, look, we're going to keep doing this and keep doing it until you guys become fatigued. And then, it took a little bit more than 90 minutes, but that's okay. I mean, you put Ferran Torres on, and he even mentioned it after the game. He put his foot that's all he did. Just put his foot to the ball and just struck it as hard as he could into the back of the net. But overall, I thought they did a really good job of minimalizing how Argentina can create space along with Lionel Messi. I think a lot of people are shocked that Messi just didn't have that many touches. I think he had 20 touches in the first half, and in the second half, he was almost obsolete.
Yeah, he had a one chance towards the end where he put one into the box, and it almost tied it before it would have sent it to penalty kicks. But Spain, deserving champion, and they get the 1-0 win. Overall, Nick, I mean, as someone who's not a huge soccer fan, and I know you're a big soccer guy, what were your thoughts on the World Cup? Because I thought it was really exciting pretty much from start to finish.
I thought it was very successful from the standpoint of TV viewership and just the exposure for the U.S. men's national team. There was actual hype around this team thinking, oh, my goodness, they could go further than, the round of 16. That'd be fantastic. But it just was not the case. I do think just in general with the blue bloods in the tournament, France, England, as much as I despise them, but that's not the point. Spain was one of the pre-tournament favorites, and they ended up prevailing, and kudos to them. But overall, I think it was great. I mean, you look at all the fans that traveled to the United States and especially other countries like Mexico and Canada, and they showed out. All the streets were just a sea of orange or a sea of red or a sea of blue, whatever country you support. I just thought it was a huge success.
No, I agree. I think it was great. I think the host countries did a great job of, we've seen all the European visitors and from around the world even how much they've loved visiting America, which has been really fun. What were your thoughts on the halftime show yesterday, Dr. Crane?
Oh, boy. Oh boy. Look, as everybody knows, I'm a big Shakira fan. I was absolutely starstruck in 2006 on July 9th when she was the halftime show in Berlin, Germany with Wyclef Jean. But obviously, she is the poster child for FIFA and all of its global tournaments. I was not really happy with the pre-match, concerts and the halftime concerts. There was no true line. Like, there was a lineup, but at the same time, if you have a lineup, make it a definitive lineup. To me, I saw the Muppets out there. I was like, why isn't this Piggy up there? Why are we doing all this random stuff? But again, it's about uniting the world, and I get the gist they're trying to get to. And look, I'm all about loving everybody, but at the same time, let's just have something a little bit more concrete. I don't think it goes in there as like the top 10 halftime performances of all time. I barely could hear the audio, which I thought was kind of odd. So
yeah, it was strange the Ted Lasso appearance, the multiple Muppets appearances, Chris Martin just kind of being out there in a sea of kids. Like it was a little bit weird, but overall successful World Cup. Spain gets the win and it's in the book. So now we can turn our attention back to local soccer here. Nashville SC back on the pitch on Friday night. Seemed like a little bit rusty getting back into action, but still were able to claw out a 1-0 win. What were your thoughts on the way Nashville SC played on Friday night at Geodis?
Yeah, I thought Nashville SC played, fairly well for the most part, obviously missing a lot of key players. There was actually a picture posted by 615 Soccer on their Twitter, and it was Christian Espinoza, Warren Madrigal, Reed Baker-Whiting, Alea Saad, the newest transfer, and there was one more player up there, Patrick Yazbak, where they were just all sitting up there spectating the game, which is it's understandable if you have injuries. But I think a lot of Nashville SC fans were just taken back and put in shock a little bit of like, they had 2 months off. How come none of these guys are fully ready to play? And I think that's something that fans have to really get a good gist of, is that, yes, it was 2 months off. Yes, some of these players were in the World Cup, one of them being just Ahmed Qasim, but you have to realize that some of these injuries before the break, they were pretty serious injuries. Like Patrick Yazbak went down in the CONCACAF Champions Cup in the pre-match, practices. But it was a rough injury. As for Christian Espinoza and Warren Madrigal, that I'm not too sure, because Warren Madrigal was somewhat healthy before the break. And so was Espinoza from my knowledge. So I'm not too sure about that. Reed Baker-Whiting was a shock to see that up in the box. But as for the product on the field, I thought Nashville did a good job of just kind of collecting their thoughts, being able to really put the ball into transition. I thought in the first half, they struggled kind of with that final pass. They struggled with just trying to get the ball into the midfield, up into the attack. And I mean, kudos to Shaq Mohammed and Ahmed Qasim, because both of those players did a really good job of just, finding their feet under them. And Shaq Mohammed, he even mentioned it after the post-match press conference, is that, he worked really hard the last 2 months just to kind of, fight for his spot. And he mentioned, I'm not going to quote it verbatim, but I'll just paraphrase it. He mentioned about his interactions with BJ Callahan for a match in Mexico. I believe it was during the CONCACAF Champions Cup, of just some things that were, not aligning with their system. And he said, look, it's a great learning lesson. And to me, I think that's what makes BJ Callahan such a great coach, is he's grabbing the best out of these players that are role players in some degree, and just actually turning them into proven starters to add on to their, I guess, I don't know, just add on to their legacy with this club.
Nashville SC did get the win and still remain atop the table in the MLS. Back in action on Wednesday against Montreal and gearing up for the Leagues Cup in a couple of weeks. What does the next month or so look like for Nashville SC as they get back into the swing of things here?
It kind of bodes well for them when it comes to the schedule purposes. You take on CF Montreal this Wednesday, then you take on Orlando. You follow that up with Washington at some point. It's just all those teams are kind of near the bottom of the table. So for Nashville, with all the injuries and all the question marks around their roster, it's huge. I think the big issue is every time Nashville is in a big tournament like the Leagues Cup or even the U.S. Open Cup last year, they had a few injuries here and there. And then you go to the CONCACAF Champions Cup earlier this year, they've always had real bad injury bugs. And they never can seem to be fully healthy for bigger tournaments. And I think that's the next big thing Nashville needs to truly work on, is just trying to stay healthy for those big tournaments. And nonetheless, a lot of Nashville SC fans do recall when NSC went to the final for the Leagues Cup against Inter Miami in 2023. But that was a special team. They played the system well. And I think with BJ Callahan, it's just a different system, which is good. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying in general, Gary Smith played a little bit more of I'd say defensive conservative approach, whereas for BJ Callahan, it's very aggressive, very quick in transition, which I think is modern day soccer, which everybody needs to get up at the times with. So as for Nashville the next month, they have a lot of games coming up in August. And if I'm Nashville SC, just keep playing your players like Shaq Mohammed, Ahmed Qasim. Maybe if you can, drop a Thomas Williams in there from here and there, because Eddie Taxeth is going to be needed during the Leagues Cup run. And if you're trying to go deep in that tournament, then yeah, you're going to need to rest some of your key players.
Nick, always appreciate your insight on soccer, and Nashville SC back in action. They're clear of everybody else in the MLS by 4 points. So they are the best team across the league. And we will be following along with your coverage on Wednesday as well. And also, you're on right after us at noon. So more Nick Frazier coming up here on 102.5 The Game later. Nick, thanks for calling in.
Thanks, guys. Take care. Have a good show.
Dr. Crane, Nick Frazier joining us with some of the vacations and stuff. We couldn't have him co-host this week, but had to get his soccer insights after a big weekend of football with Nashville SC and the World Cup. 615-737-1025 is the phone number if you want to text or call. Our phone lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. You can also subscribe to our YouTube channel at 1025 The Game for live shows and exclusive content. 1 hour down. Coming up next, SEC Media Days are underway in Tampa. Tennessee will speak later today. We'll preview the Vols season, what 2026 could look like. We'll also look around the other three teams who are speaking today, Missouri, Kentucky, and Oklahoma. Jake Lyman, Christian Skelton, next man up here on 1025 The Game. Second hour on this Reaction Monday. Next man up, 102.5 The Game. Jake Lyman, Christian Skelton, broadcasting from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville Studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. Big thanks to Nick Frazier for joining us in the last segment, getting his soccer expertise as the World Cup finished up yesterday. Nashville SC back in action over the weekend as well. But it's time to turn our attention down to Tampa. SEC Media Days are underway, and 102.5 The Game will have updates throughout the week. SEC Media Day coverage is brought to you by Shane Co., family-owned for nearly 100 years, built on integrity and doing right by customers. Tri-State Water, Power, and Air, and the Music City kickoff game featuring Ole Miss taking on Louisville September 6th at Nissan Stadium. Get your tickets today at NashvilleSports.com. Tennessee, part of the quartet of teams speaking down in Tampa today. They'll come up later this afternoon. It looks like Oklahoma, Missouri are the morning session, and then you'll see Tennessee and Kentucky in the afternoon. But let's start with Tennessee. The Vols heading into a crucial year. Season, and I think there's a lot of questions around this Tennessee squad. Yes, the roster is talented, and I think you look up and down and say there's not really a glaring weakness. You make the change at defensive coordinator. I don't know why I'm blanking on Penn State.
Jim Knowles.
Jim Knowles coming in as the defensive coordinator. You bring in more talent through the transfer portal. Obviously, the Chaz Coleman situation, disappointing. The big question is quarterback, though. And who's it going to be? Is it going to be Faison Brandon? Is it going to be George McIntyre? And whoever it is, are they going to be able to hit the ground running as a first-year starter in Josh Heupel's offense and get this team back into the playoff conversation?
Yeah, it's funny. When I look at the offense, I feel great. I am a Tennessee fan, so I have a little bit of bias here. But when I look at the offense, I feel great about every position except quarterback, just because you just don't know what you have yet. Obviously, I think it's going to be Faison just from everything I've read. It kind of seems like, I don't want to say it's over, but it seems like it's kind of like 90-10, I would say is fair. But, obviously he's a 5-star, but other than that, I mean, I feel great about the receivers, feel great about the running backs with Bishop coming back. The O-line looks to be pretty solid as well. I mean, and Ethan Davis at tight end is going to be a weapon. So, I mean, whoever it is going to have a lot to work with their first time being a college starter. So, I mean, that gives you confidence, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I look at the battle between McIntyre and Brandon, and I think Ty should go to Brandon. Like, if it's close, you go with the younger guy. You go with the guy who, like McIntyre, very highly touted recruit, but Brandon's higher rated. And I think there's you look at Brandon and say, he's going to be the guy moving forward at some point. And if you don't want Brandon to transfer, which I think he would be fine redshirting, but it's like, if you put McIntyre out there, you're committing to him. And if he has a decent year, then Brandon could kind of get lost in the shuffle. I think Faison Brandon is the more talented player. And I think if you're looking at it and say, all right, it's close, but McIntyre's already been in the system. He's been in the room for a full year and hasn't been able to build a gap away from this true freshman. I think you go with Brandon and just see how it turns out.
That's a great point you bring up, because, I mean, McIntyre's been on campus about 1.5 years now, and if it's still as close as it is, I agree. If it's like you said, if it's a tie, go with Brandon.
Go with the younger guy.
Because McIntyre's been there as long as he has, and it's still this close. And the one thing I love about Faison that I have heard, so apparently Josh Heupel has all his quarterbacks take a football cognitive test, like just to test your brain skills, I guess, with football.
Yeah.
And Faison scored as high as any quarterback he's ever had. So I was like, all right, well, that gives me some confidence, considering he's a true freshman.
Right. And it's good to know. And I think everybody has kind of said since Hendon Hooker, it's like, all right, when Heupel gets his guy again, this team could be back in not just playoff conversations, but have a chance to make a run, because Heupel's proven to be a great offensive mind. That system works when he has a quarterback who can execute and put the ball where it needs to be. Hendon Hooker was that, but like, it's not like Hendon Hooker was some uber talented quarterback. And we're going to talk a lot about Vandy tomorrow, excuse me. We're going to talk a lot about Vandy, but like Diego Pavia, when you look at him in terms of pure quarterback talent, he is nowhere near the same class as Jared Curtis. So I think that's why you look at Vandy and say, yeah, maybe they take a step back now, but you've got a quarterback who can do more than Pavia could do once he gets accustomed to the system, gets accustomed to playing in the SEC. I think you could say the same thing with Heupel is look at what he did with Hendon Hooker before he got hurt. Faison Brandon is a more talented player than Hendon Hooker, and if he can be the right fit in the offense, if he avoids some of the issues that plague Nico with off the field and, obviously everything that happened with him transferring, I think Faison Brandon could be that guy to get Tennessee back into that national championship conversation. There may be some bumps in the road this year. He's a true freshman playing in the SEC, but I think getting those experiences now are going to help him down the road and help Tennessee as they try and build this program back up.
I mean, that is the one thing you have confidence in with Heupel is, he took Nico to the playoffs. I mean, and I hate to, well, no, I don't hate to pile on Nico. Nico, we know what he was as quarterback. He definitely was not a 5-star. I mean, he wasn't terrible, but
he was a good player.
He was good.
He was a talented player.
Yes. And he took him to the playoffs. I mean, a lot of that was because the defense and Dylan Sampson was so good, but I mean, that's what gives me confidence with Josh Heupel when it comes to quarterback play. And I mean, yeah, and like I was saying earlier, he should have pretty much every weapon you would need to have a competent and explosive offense in the SEC. I mean, with the receivers coming back, I don't know if Tristan Keys is going to have a huge impact. I hope he does. That's one thing with Heupel that's always annoyed me is I feel like he'll get a big time freshman wide receiver on campus, and you just don't hear from him at all until either the end of the season or until I don't know if Braylon Staley was as good in 24 early in the year as he was last year in 25, but he didn't play until the Ohio State game in 24. So, I mean, that's always kind of annoyed me with Heupel, but I am hoping, considering how much money they spent to flip him from LSU, that Tristan Keys is not the case there.
Yeah. There's definitely a lot of talent in that wide receiver room. Mike Matthews is back. You mentioned Braylon Staley, and you got 5-star guy and Tristan Keys coming in. So there's a lot of reason to be excited about this team. I just think you do have to keep expectations in check this year. You look at, I would say Bryce Underwood and Faison Brandon, probably similar levels of prospect.
I think that's fair.
Underwood maybe slightly better, but similar levels. They're both 5-star guys. And you saw Michigan last year. Fine. They went 8-4. They weren't horrible. They weren't great. I just think with Tennessee, if you're running a true freshman quarterback out there, you have to expect there are going to be some struggles. Yeah, you have to expect that he's going to need some time to get adjusted to the SEC. But I think the hope is that by the end of the year, you're starting to see things click. And maybe there's a slow start to SEC play, and we'll have to look at their schedule coming up next year. But maybe you're like 3-3, but then down the stretch, you get a big win here or there. And Faison Brandon starts to look like the guy you expect him to be, and you can head into 2027 with momentum. But I think if anybody's expecting Tennessee to be a playoff team this year, I think that's a little bit unrealistic.
I do too. I mean, I personally have them at 9-3, which would probably be just outside the playoff.
Right.
But I almost think it's like a less extreme version of what the Titans dealt with Cam Ward last year.
Yeah.
Like, you're not expecting to contend for any, I don't think Tennessee's going to be as bad as the Titans were, but you're not expecting to contend for anything, but you're like, hey, as long as our young quarterback looks good, shows flashes, I think you're kind of okay with whatever else happens.
Yeah, I think it's a good comparison. The NFL and college is obviously different. Right. It's a bad season for Tennessee football would be 6-6.
Right.
Whereas if the Titans had won 6 games last year, I think everyone would have felt great about
a parade.
that.
Yeah.
Right. So, I agree with you, though. I think you can't be too locked in on the wins and losses this year with Tennessee because you can see the building blocks, right? We just mentioned you got Tristan Keys. It seems like they might be able to get DGG in the next couple of weeks as a 5-star running back coming in. So, there's a whole lot of reasons for optimism with Tennessee. The young quarterback, you just want to see him start to build and look comfortable in this Josh Heupel system after year one. And I think you look next year, if Faison Brandon does have that ascent throughout his freshman season, I think you could head into next year saying Tennessee is a top 10 preseason team if things look good enough towards the end of the year this year.
That's kind of been my mindset all offseason is I'm kind of Tennessee's probably a year away, from truly contending for an SEC championship. I don't even think about national. My thing as a Tennessee fan, I don't even think about national championship. I'm can we just get to Atlanta?
Right.
we haven't been to Atlanta since I was 4. Can we just do that? We could have if we didn't lose to Arkansas. And 24. But yeah, that's my biggest goal as a Tennessee fan. Like, let's just get to Atlanta. I don't even care if they win. Just get there and just play in the game.
Yeah, no, I think Tennessee, you want to see a step forward this year, but I say it all the time with Vandy and Tennessee. The progress isn't always linear, and I don't think you can look straight up at like the wins and losses and say whether this was a good year or a bad year for Tennessee. I think there's a way that you could feel good about a 7-5 Tennessee team, and a way that you maybe don't feel as good about an 8-4 or 9-3 Tennessee team.
Depends on who you win and lose again.
Right.
Like, that has a lot to do with it.
Depends on
I feel like
who you beat, how you beat them, and it's such a quarterback driven sport now that it's like at the end of the year, if you're talking about Faison Brandon as one of the ascending stars in this game, if you go 7-5 and lose close games to Alabama and LSU and A&M and Texas, and it's like, all right, we were in these games, we just didn't have enough to get over the top with a freshman quarterback. I think you can feel good about that. I mean, I guess if you go 9-3, you're beating some of those teams, which would make you feel good. But you can't just look at the wins and losses and say, this is a step in the right direction, this is a step in the wrong direction. I think you could have a 7-5 Tennessee team this year that you feel pretty good about heading into 27.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And I mean, I feel like that's why the 8-4 felt so nasty last year, is because you looked at it and it's like, well, who'd you beat? I guess you finally got rid of stupid swamp voodoo, thank God. But other than that, it's like, I mean, yay, you beat Arkansas at home, I guess. You held on against Mississippi State on the road. Other than that, it's like, okay, you didn't really beat anybody.
Yeah, so I guess the way you end that season, you get blown out by Vanderbilt in Neyland, like that's a sour taste in your mouth. And I know the bowl game against Illinois, but like I think the way Tennessee fans remember the end of that season with just like a sputter. If you beat Vanderbilt and you finish 9-3, I think maybe you're having a different conversation at the end of the year, but it's just the way that season ended, I think left a bad taste in a lot of Vols fans.
It has made me laugh seeing a lot of Tennessee fans like, I've not been this way at all. Just a lot of them like, oh, well, they didn't care. We were eliminated from the playoffs, so they didn't care. That's why they got beat by Vandy so bad. I'm like, if that was the case, I don't think Chris Brazel would have played since he didn't play in the Music City Bowl.
Right.
So.
Right. They would have treated it like a bowl game if they didn't care. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. We'll take your thoughts on our phone and text line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Anything on the Vols, we'd love to hear it. We will talk lots of Tennessee. We'll also touch on the other three teams speaking down in Tampa today: Kentucky, Oklahoma, and Missouri. Yesterday, the Berchetta Bourbon Music City Grand Prix was rained out at the Nashville Superspeedway. The race will run today at 2 p.m. and 102.5. The game will have live coverage brought to you by Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical, and Big Shots in downtown Nashville. Jake Lyman, Christian Skelton, next man up here on 102.5 The Game. Next man up, 102.5 The Game. Jake Lyman, Christian Skelton with you. Opening day of SEC Media Days down in Tampa, Tennessee. One of 4 teams speaking, along with Oklahoma, Kentucky, and Missouri. We haven't mentioned the news of the morning, though, that SEC Media Days are coming here next year. So Nashville getting SEC Media Days again for the second time in the last 5 years or so?
Believe so. Yeah, I did get to go in 23 when I was with another station. But yeah, Joe was very excited, as you might have heard. I mean that very sarcastically if you weren't listening.
Yeah, I heard Joe Rexroad this morning, and if you missed it on Robbie and Rexroad, I think he makes a good point that putting it back in Hoover would be great because it made an impact on Hoover, and it was the right size for an event like this. And I honestly, so I was at the SEC Media Days in Atlanta last year, and I thought that was a perfect spot for it too. At the College Football Hall of Fame, you connect it with the hotel. Like, I thought that was a great setup as well. I'm glad that it's going to be here. I think it's fun to just be around SEC Media Days, and it gets you in the spirit for football. I believe it's July 12th through the 15th next year here in Nashville. But I do get what Joe is saying, that this city is great for the SEC basketball tournament, right? Like every year, and Nashville should be the home base for the SEC men's basketball tournament, as it has become over the past few years. I do think that they should go back to Hoover. Maybe not every year. Maybe once every couple of years, you go out to Texas and you do it in Dallas to appease the Texas and Oklahoma and A&M fans. Maybe once every couple of years, you do it in Florida to appease the Florida fans, and Georgia and LSU. I guess the Alabama side, I guess, a little bit closer. But I do think Hoover is probably the place that it should be the most. I think it's like the NFL draft, though. Once they started moving it, they aren't going to go back, right? Like once they moved it once and they found it was profitable and that it was successful, they're not going to go back to just having it in one place every single year.
No, yeah, I think it's just like anything. Once they do it, the Pandora's box is kind of open.
Right.
And I do that. It was the one thing of his take there that I did kind of agree with, though. Like it did kind of always have a certain feel to it when it was in Hoover every year. So I mean, I did kind of agree with that, but I mean, like I said, I think, or like you said, I think it'll be cool.
I think it'll be great.
Nashville again next year.
Yeah, now I'd love to do the show out there. Like last year I went down with Vandy and got to see Chase and Big Joe, and it's like there's just a line of different guests coming up every 15. Like it's fun. So I'm glad it'll be in Nashville, but I do understand what Joe is saying. It's like there was something about it being in Hoover every single year. But once they open the box, like you can't put the toothpaste back in the tube. The SEC is going to have that be the traveling circus from here on out. So it will be in Nashville next year, down in Tampa this year. Tennessee, one of 4 teams speaking on day one. I wanted to go through the schedule here for Tennessee because it sets up. It's not easy to start. Yes, you have Furman to begin the year. But at Georgia Tech in Atlanta in week 2, that's going to be a big test for whoever is playing quarterback. We kind of assume it's going to be Faison Brandon, but whoever it is, that's going to be their second career start. Georgia Tech now, not a world beater, and they did lose a lot from last year's team, but it is a team that was 1 or 2 games away from being in the college football playoff last season.
Yeah, obviously losing Haynes King, that's going to be the most important thing. That's going to be tough.
They got Alberto now.
They do have, I am a little worried. I was like, I hope he does. The blood doesn't completely transfer, and he's not just a clone of Fernando.
Yeah,
that's the case.
Heisman's running the family,
if that's the case, it's going to be a little bit more of a challenge than we might be anticipating. But I mean, yeah, that's one of the. It's kind of like the Pittsburgh game in 22. Like Tennessee barely escaped in that game.
Yeah,
even though they knocked out like every Pittsburgh starting quarterback in that game, it was crazy. But it was, like I said, it like you saw, it was one of those games where it showed the trajectory for the rest of the season, because Tennessee easily could have lost that game, and who knows how the rest of the season goes. But they win it. It kind of kickstarts them for the rest of the year, and before you know it, they're 8-0 and number 1 in the country. We won't talk about how the rest of the season went, but it kickstarts you off for the rest of the year. So it's definitely, as early as it is, it's definitely a big time swing game, kind of just a road ACC game to kind of, not get you completely used to a road SEC game, but just kind of dip your toes in the water,
Okay, is it Bobby Dodd? I ask that every time we talk about this game because I'm like, is it at Mercedes-Benz or is it at Bobby Dodd?
Yeah, I really was looking at that because I was looking at going to this game, but it's like as expensive as LSU and Neyland is. So I'm just like, I'll just go to the LSU game. That's fine. I mean, seeing Bobby Dodd would have been cool, but I was just in Atlanta last year for the Syracuse game. It's fine. I don't have to go back.
And Tennessee fans are going to travel, right?
Yeah.
Like that.
Oh, yeah. That's why it's expected. They know Tennessee fans are going to pay the money no matter what it is.
Right. Like it's not going to be a home atmosphere, but Tennessee fans are going to make themselves known down there in Atlanta. And I think it's a good test. Like you said, it's either going to show you that this team maybe has a lot of work to do, especially at the quarterback position in week 2, but it could also be a springboard of if you go and win a game on the road against a Power 4 opponent, you turn around, you get Kennesaw State to gear up for SEC play. Like it could be a springboard heading into that Texas game on September 26th, which I think that's the game everybody's got to have circled. Texas might be the most talented roster in the country this year with what they've brought in the portal and what they have coming back. So if you can be 3-0 heading into that game's going to feel a lot like Georgia last year in Neyland, where it was like Tennessee, do you believe Aguilar had played well to that point? And it's like, if you win that game, you springboard yourself into the top 10, and they came up just short. I'm interested to see what that Texas game is going to look like on September 26th.
Yeah, I was unfortunately in attendance for that Georgia game. It was really fun until about the last 4 seconds of regulation. So, but yeah, I could definitely see it being a very similar type vibe of just, let's see where we're at.
Yep.
And it made you, even though you lost that game, it made you feel a lot better about the rest of the season. I mean, we know how it ended, but going, for the rest of the year, like your outlook, looking ahead, it was like, okay, if we almost beat Georgia, surely we can at least compete with everybody else. And you mostly did. Because, I think there were a lot of Tennessee fans that were very bullish on them for, I guess, I don't know if that's the right word, but I guess it is. But yeah, I think they were just very skeptical. That's the word I was looking for. Sorry about that. They were very skeptical about just, Joe Aguilar. I don't know, G5 guy, App State, has all the turnovers, but that game really showed everybody, like, okay, this guy can play. So I don't know how that Texas, because like you said, I think Texas this year is probably going to be better than Georgia last year. I mean, we don't know for sure, but I'd probably guess that. So it might be a little bit different. And it just really sucks. It's at noon.
Yeah.
I hate it so
I hate
much.
it too. That's my biggest issue with college football is they put too many games at noon. And like too many of the big games, at least this year, like Texas, Ohio State is in prime time because the Big Ten doesn't have control over it this year. But
take that, Fox.
But like, man, I would love to have Texas, Tennessee in Neyland in prime time because you're right. It's like that's an advantage for Tennessee when you get that crowd, well lubricated and ready to go for that game. Not that it's not going to be a good crowd at noon. It's just different when you're playing under the lights. But that's going to be the measuring stick game. And you're going to see pretty quickly, even if Tennessee is 3-0, like, again, Georgia Tech, good team, but not a team that it's like super impressive if Tennessee goes and wins. Like, it's a game I think Tennessee will be favored in on the road. But Texas, that's that measuring stick game of, all right, are we ready to compete with some of the top teams in the SEC, or are we still a year away given what we've got on this team right now?
Maybe not to the exact level, but comparing it to last year again, like when you beat Syracuse, everyone's like, okay, yeah, good win.
Right.
Good job. Got the job done. I think it could be probably not as extreme, but a similar type feel with Georgia Tech. But same thing. Like if you'd beaten Georgia last year, that's a national headline for the rest of the week. If you go out and beat Texas, that's going to be, I mean, I know there's a lot of big games that week, and that's why it's at noon, but that will be one of the major storylines of college football that week. Wow, Tennessee beat Texas.
Yeah, and I mean, if you beat Texas, I think realistically, Tennessee's 6-0 hosting Alabama on the third Saturday in October, like that. And that changes the outlook of this season if you're able to win that game. So that's the biggest game on this schedule that I see. I think that's either that could be a turning point one way or the other for this season, because then you get first-year head coaches in Auburn and at Arkansas. You get Alabama at home, which Tennessee has won back-to-back games against Alabama in Neyland Stadium. And, the end of the season is tough. The end of the season, you're looking at it and you have to play, is it at A&M, LSU, Vanderbilt to end the season? So it's those last three games, I think you would like, if you're a Tennessee fan, which you are, I think you'd like to head into that A&M game feeling like you're still in playoff contention. And it's like, all right, if we can go get some big wins down the stretch here, we've got a chance to make the playoffs. But in order to do that, you probably have to beat one of Texas or Alabama before that.
Yeah, I unfortunately have Tennessee losing that AM game to get up a third loss.
Yeah.
The one of the 3 losses I have is South Carolina, and I think part of that is because I am a Tennessee fan, and the 2 road games this year, that's like, wow, I hate playing there. South Carolina, Arkansas, I don't care how bad they are.
Yeah.
They could be a field a high school team. I will never feel confident as a Tennessee fan playing those 2 stadiums. So to speak to it, I am 90% more confident in beating Alabama at home than I am winning either of those 2 games. Maybe not Arkansas as much because I don't think they're going to be very good.
Yeah.
But South Carolina, I don't feel good about that game at all.
South Carolina speaks tomorrow, and we're going to dive into them a little bit more. But like that team, I know that it might just be the big name players, and you got to look underneath the surface. But when you've got Lenora Sellers, who we've seen be a legitimate playmaker at quarterback with both his arm and his legs. We've seen it. They won 9 games 2 years ago. And then you look and you see Dylan Stewart, who might be the best pass rusher in the country, one of a handful at the very top who's going to go in the first round next year. Having an elite quarterback or a quarterback with the ability to be elite and having an elite pass rusher, those are 2 big problems that you have solved. If Shane Beamer doesn't win this year with this team, he's going to be out the door.
Yeah, if he doesn't win this year with this team, I don't know when he's ever going to win.
Right.
Other than 24, which they almost made the playoff. But
right. And I think that bought him an extra year of leash because they were everybody's team last year. Everybody was looking at South Carolina and saying that's a dark horse playoff team. And then they won 4 games. So this is a make or break year for South Carolina. And that game against Tennessee could be big for both teams when they meet in Columbia in late October. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. We will continue talking Vols on the other side, talk about what's the ceiling, what's the floor for this team, and then we'll get into some of the other teams speaking down in Tampa. Eli Drinkwitz is at the podium right now, Christian's favorite coach in the SEC. So we'll talk about his program. We'll talk Kentucky. We'll talk Oklahoma. 615-737-1025. Jake Lyman, Christian Skelton, next man up, 1025 The Game. Next man up, 102.5 The Game. Jake Lyman, Christian Skelton with you. SEC Media Days getting started today down in Tampa. Tennessee goes this afternoon with Josh Heupel and their players. It's Arian Carter, Deshaun Bishop, and Jake Telander.
Jeremiah Telander.
Jeremiah Telander. Yes, those are the three for Tennessee. So they'll take their turn later on today. Vandy is down in Tampa tomorrow with Clark Lee, Cedric Alexander, Junior Sherrill, and Issa Wataha. So excited for that. We'll talk plenty of Vandy tomorrow. But going through Tennessee and their schedule here, I do think the ceiling for this team, I'm going to say 10-2. Like, I do
agree.
think this could be a 10-win team. Now, that would mean that you're going to have to win. You're going to have to beat Vandy, beat South Carolina, beat Kentucky, beat Arkansas, beat Auburn. Those ones, I think you have to win those games. And then you're going to have to win 2 of your games against Texas, Alabama, A&M, and LSU.
See, I'd almost argue you just got to win the home games just because I've seen how bad Josh Heupel's been on the road over the years. I'd almost just argue you got to beat Texas because that is the one nice thing about the schedule, the way it sets up. Most of your more difficult opponents other than A&M are all at home. So that's the nice thing, and I'd almost argue that's the main thing. You got to beat LSU, you got to beat Alabama, you got to beat Texas.
Yeah, I mean,
you're going to win 10 games.
I would say those are the 3 most talented teams on your schedule. Now, talent doesn't mean everything, but like in terms of investment and star rating and all that, like LSU, Alabama, Texas, those are the teams that are going to have the most draft picks that you're going to be facing. And yes, you're right. It is nice. All of those games are in Neyland. So you win those 3. If you beat Vandy on the road, you maybe lose to A&M, you lose to South Carolina, but 10-2, I think, is a ceiling. I don't see this being an 11-win team. I could see it being a 10-win team, which would likely get you into the playoff. We had to change my open because we can't say that 10-win SEC teams would make it no matter what anymore because it didn't happen last year.
That was on your open. I didn't realize
it was on my open. That's for like the first 6 months of the show because honestly, heading into last year, I thought it was true. 10 wins as an SEC school, you're in. I heard it every hour on the hour. And then Vandy, of course, did not get in as a 10-win SEC school. So
that's pretty funny. So you just heard that every day for the entire fall. And it's I don't know if this is going to age very well.
Yes, we got texts almost every hour of you need to change that open. So thank you to Chase for changing it so I didn't have to be embarrassed by that bad take. Even though I didn't think it was a bad take. I think year over year, if you win 10 games in the SEC, you're going to get in most of the time. Last year was a strange season where there were a lot of 10-win SEC teams and you couldn't take all of them. So anyway, I think 10-2 is the ceiling for the Vols, which likely ends in a playoff appearance, the second one in 3 years for Josh Heupel. I do think the floor for this team is probably 6-6. Like I think I can find 6 losses on this schedule that would be realistic. And sure, you could go lower than that, but like I don't see them. I'm not going to pick them to lose 7 games. I think 6-6 would be the floor. I think you could lose to Texas, you could lose to Alabama, you could lose to A&M, LSU, Vanderbilt, and South Carolina. Like I think you could lose 6 of those games with a freshman quarterback, but I think it's probably going to be somewhere in between. You said 8-4. I think that's about right. I think they go 8-4. You maybe win a game that you aren't favored in. Maybe you go to A&M and get a win. Maybe you beat LSU at the end of the season, but you may lose a game that you're not expecting to, as we've seen each of the last couple of years from Tennessee as well.
Yeah, I actually had 9-3.
Oh, you had 9-3?
Yeah, but like you said, I have Tennessee losing a game they're not supposed to, South Carolina. So
yeah,
I have the losses as Texas, South Carolina, and Texas A&M. So
yeah, I mean, I think they're going to beat Kentucky. Sorry, Connor.
I do too.
That game,
me and him might end up going to that game. We'll see.
Really?
Yes.
That game and the Auburn game at home, I'm not all that worried about. It's first-year head coaches in Neyland. Like, I think you're good. Every other SEC game, like, there's a chance you lose it. You lost at Arkansas 2 years ago. Would I pick you to lose? No. I would pick Tennessee to win that game. And I'd probably pick Tennessee to win at South Carolina too. But the other games, and Vandy this year, we're going to talk about Vandy a lot tomorrow. I just don't know what to expect from Vandy. It's like Jared Curtis could be a phenom as a freshman, and Vandy could be back in the 8-9 win conversation this year. But there could be some growing pains moving on from Diego Pavia. I think Vandy is one of those. I'm excited to see what the preseason poll looks like with Vandy this year, because This is a team that won 10 games last year and won 6 games in the SEC, but losing Diego Pavia, I think there is a wait and see mode for a lot of people with Vandy of like, all right, I've got to see what you do beyond Diego Pavia to really believe that Vanderbilt has turned a corner for good.
Yeah, and I mean, I think the schedule is arguably tougher this year for Vandy because last year, you didn't have to go to the Swamp. I know it's year one of Summerall, but it's still the Swamp. You didn't have to go to Athens, so stuff like that's going to make it a little bit more difficult for Vandy. I think Ole Miss comes to Nashville as well, if I'm not mistaken. Or
yes, yeah,
they do.
Yep,
yeah.
October 10th.
Oh wow, so Ole Miss plays in Nashville twice this year.
Oh yeah, they do.
How about
they
that?
play
If you're an
Louisville.
Ole Miss fan
There
in
you
Nashville,
go.
you got 2 chances to see the Rebels. But yeah, I think that's the main reason why I'm kind of like, I don't really know about Vanderbilt. It's just because the schedule is just so much harder than it was last year.
Yeah, we're going to get into Vandy a lot tomorrow. Andrew Allegretta going to join us live from SEC Media Days, so excited for that. But yeah, looking at this Tennessee schedule, I'm going to say ceiling 10-2, floor 6-6, and I'll split the difference. I'm going to say I think Tennessee's an 8-4 team again this year, but I think it might be a different looking 8-4 at the end of the year, where it's an 8-4 that has you excited about 2027 instead of this year where it felt like an 8-4, 8-5, where you're like, man, that one didn't feel good.
Hopefully it's an 8-4 where you at least beat somebody with a pulse.
Right. Yeah. Like, I guess if
I would take.
If you go 8-4, that means you at least beat one. Well, I guess 8-4, you could lose Texas, Alabama, A&M, LSU, and then it's like your best win would probably be South Carolina or Vandy on the road.
Yeah, that would be the scary 8-4.
Wouldn't be super inspiring.
I don't want any part of that 8-4. Even if it's an 8-4 and you only beat Alabama, obviously I think me and every Tennessee fan would sign up for that immediately.
Yeah. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. Tennessee, again, will take the podium later on this afternoon. But 3 other teams down in Tampa. Missouri right now has the stage at SEC Media Days. Oklahoma and Brett Venables spoke earlier. Kentucky is also there in year 1 under Will Stein. We'll talk about all of those teams. We'll go rapid fire around the other 3 teams in Tampa coming up next. Jake Lyman, Christian Skelton, next man up. 102.5 The Game. Next man up, 102.5 The Game, finishing up the second hour on this Reaction Monday. Jake Lyman, Christian Skelton with you. SEC Media Days starting today in Tampa, Florida, Tennessee, part of the 4 teams going on day 1. And we just spent most of this hour on Tennessee, but wanted to check in with the other teams. Let's start with Kentucky, because they are one of the local fan bases around here, at least more fans here in Nashville than Missouri or Oklahoma, who we'll talk about in just a second. But Kentucky's an interesting team this year because you finally move on from Bob Stoops. You bring in Will Stein, who I think there's a lot to like about what he's done at Oregon with Dan Lanning. But he is a first-time head coach and taking over for a Kentucky team that, yeah, has had its moments over the last few years. You look back at Levis's first season as the quarterback, and they won 9 games that year. But overall, it's been disappointing. I'm interested to see what Will Stein is able to do, and it's going to be tough for him, especially the way this schedule works out. Yes, you get Youngstown State to start things off, but you play SEC schools in, man, I mean, you're playing a lot of conference games early.
It's a really hard schedule.
They've got
for a first-year head coach.
Alabama week 2, at A&M week 3, at South Carolina week 5, LSU week 6, Oklahoma week 7, Vanderbilt week 8, then a bye week, then at Tennessee. Like, there wasn't a game that I just listed off that I think I would pick Kentucky to win.
I don't think they got any. They definitely did not get any layups. That's for sure.
No.
I mean, they pretty much got every, other than maybe Florida and Mizzou, every single other team that they play, maybe South Carolina, you could pretty much see as a playoff contender, I think.
Right. I mean, and they did bring in a lot of transfers this year. You bring in Kenny Minchie, Hendersonville native from Notre Dame, to come and play quarterback for you, which he was a top 200 recruit coming out of high school, was a 4-star guy in the portal. You get Lance Hurd to come play left tackle for you. So, like, there are some good players, and I think this might be a better team than last year. But it is just looking through that schedule. It's like, would I pick them to beat Alabama? No. Would I pick them to beat A&M? No. Even South Carolina on the road, I'd probably take the Gamecocks. There's a chance that you lose your first 5 games of SEC play before mid-October, and then you've got Vandy coming in as I would say I would put Vandy as a winnable game for Kentucky, but definitely not a gimme anymore.
Definitely not.
Like, it's reasonable to say Kentucky could go winless in the SEC play this year, which is tough. It's just a tough schedule. And the SEC is always going to be tough, but I don't know if there's more than a game or 2 on their SEC slate where I'm like, yeah, Kentucky's going to get that one.
Yeah, I think it's a case where they could be a better team this year, but have a worse record for sure.
I agree with you.
Just with how tough the schedule is. I mean, they went 4-8 last year,
right?
Like, I could see them going 4, or I guess the same record. Then I could probably see them going 4-8 again, but being much more competitive in every game,
right?
Looking much better and just looking like they have much more of a pulse. I mean, honestly, in my opinion, I think of all those games we listed off, I think Alabama's the one they had the best chance in, just because it's early in the year.
Yeah, you're at home.
Week 2 at home. That place will definitely be rocking. First-year head coach, there'll be a lot of excitement. I think Alabama, people are going to say this is orange-colored glasses. I'm very skeptical on them this year, just because they don't.
Yeah, they got a freshman quarterback coming in too, right?
They do not have a lot that excites me personally, but I mean, hey, they could easily prove me wrong. It's Alabama. I mean, they obviously still have good players on their team
for sure. And I look at it. You give them Youngstown State and South Alabama. They're going to win those games
for sure.
Vandy and Florida at home, I think you look and say those could be competitive games, and Louisville's supposed to be good this year. Like, that's a team that I think I would put in the top 3 or 4 in the ACC.
Louisville played them last year,
right?
I mean, that was the end of Mark Stoops, but still,
yeah. Well, and Louisville's got some talent. Like, Isaac Brown is probably one of the best 5 or 6 running backs in the country. You go at Missouri, you go at Tennessee, at Oklahoma, at South Carolina, at A&M. So, yeah, you're right. This could be a Kentucky team. They won 4 games last year. They could go 3-9 this year. But, again, it's why you have to watch the games. That's why we talked about with Tennessee. There are many different ways that an 8-4 season could look for Tennessee, or a 7-5 season could look for Tennessee. I think even a 3-9 year for Kentucky, you could look and say that there is hope moving forward. But that as most SEC schedules are, this one is really tough. Like, you miss out on a lot of the teams that I would say I might pick Kentucky in. Like, if they played Mississippi State, I might pick Kentucky. If they played Auburn, if they played Arkansas, but they don't play any of those teams. They play a lot of the teams, like you said, that are competing for college football playoff spots.
Yeah, it's brutal. It's just, I mean, you were talking about Vandy and Florida. Like, I think if you split, I think I could see them splitting those two.
Right.
Is that crazy to say?
Which makes you like, would you pick them in any of the other games?
Missouri, maybe
maybe Missouri.
I don't know.
We'll talk about them coming up in a minute.
But I mean, any of the other ones, I mean, other than, like I said, I could see them tripping up Alabama. I don't think so. Maybe South Carolina, just because, we saw what they did last year. You never know there. But the other ones, I don't have a great feeling about.
I was wondering when we were going to get a text from Connor Newt. He just texted in and said 7-5. Find me 7 wins on this schedule, Connor.
Here's what I'll say. I admire the confidence, but the schedule is very difficult. And I will say, if you have a bad year this year, I still feel very good about them long term, because I think Will Stein's a stud.
Yes,
he says feed the studs. I think he's one of the studs. I feel great about them long term. This year, that schedule is just so brutal. I just don't know how they're going to do much. Personally,
I agree. I like Will Stein, and I think that you got to have patience if you're Kentucky. But I just look through this and say, like, all right, 7 wins. That means you're beating Youngstown State. You're beating South Alabama. I'm assuming Connor would have them beating Louisville too, right? So if you win all your non-con games, you're 3. So that means you have to go 4-5 in the SEC. And it's kind of stupid to do schedule math right now in July, because there's always games that you think you're going to win that you don't. And there are games that you think you're going to lose that you end up pulling off a win and getting the upset. But when I just look through this, like, yeah, maybe Kentucky does trip up Alabama, pulls off the upset week 2. That would be huge for Will Stein and huge for that program. You'd be 2-0. But do I believe in them to then turn around and go beat A&M on the road after that? No. And it is tough.
Although it is A&M, you never know. South Carolina almost beat them last year.
That is true. So. That is true. A&M is they can be hit or miss. But sorry, Connor, I don't see 7 wins on that schedule. I think 100% you're right, Christian. There's a way that their record is worse this year, but you feel better coming out of the season because you feel like you have that long-term plan in place with Will Stein.
I tell you what, he could talk me into 6-6. He could talk me into 6-6, I think. It'd still be tough, but I think he could talk me into 6-6 just because it's a little bit more realistic for me than 7-5.
So he's listed off his 7 wins.
Okay, cool.
Youngstown, South Alabama, Mizzou, South Carolina, Florida, Vandy, and he says Loserville. I guess if you're looking for 7 wins, those would be the ones, right? Because like I wouldn't pick them against. I know you say Alabama. I wouldn't pick them against Alabama, A&M, LSU, Oklahoma, or Tennessee. Like, I think those 5 are just out the door. So the other 7 games, but do you win all of them? Like, sure, you could win some of them. Do you win all of them? I don't think so.
Which, I mean, if they're as good as they can possibly be, like if they cap off, like we were talking about the ceiling and floor.
Right.
They're ceiling 7-5,
sure.
Probably.
Yeah.
This is probably their ceiling, but that doesn't mean it can't happen. So you never know.
I think, yes, ceiling 7-5, the floor might be 2-10. Like the 10 games outside of Youngstown and South Alabama, I don't know if I would pick them to win any of them. I think there are some toss-ups, some 50-50 games, but I think 7-5, 2-10 would be my floor and ceiling. I apologize to Kitty Cat Connie.
Yes, forgot about the new nickname.
9264 says, this may just be my bias talking, but as a Kentucky fan, they almost always win one that shocks people. Ole Miss 2 years ago, Louisville the year before that, both top 10 wins. And sure, I think there will be games that Kentucky wins this year that surprises you. Like, I wouldn't pick them to go 2-10. I think they're probably a 4-win team-ish.
The other one along with Alabama, LSU maybe.
Yeah, LSU, we'll talk about LSU later this week too, because it's just such an interesting year for them where just based off of what they're spending, you're like, man, that team should be good this year, but there's a difference between on paper and in practice. And it's like, you've got to see Lane Kiffin do it at LSU. You can't just write the paychecks and cash in the wins. Like, you got to go win football games. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. We've got one more hour left with you on this Monday. We'll continue to go through the teams. Speaking at SEC Media Days today, Missouri, Oklahoma in the morning session. Both coaches have spoken at the podium. Does Missouri finally get over the hump under Eli Drinkwitz, where they're always kind of around the playoff conversation, but never in the playoff conversation? And Brett Venables saved his job last year with a college football playoff appearance. Can they build off it with John Mateer back under center? 615-737-1025. Jake Lyman, Christian Skelton, next man up, 1025 The Game. Next man up, 102.5, The Game. Jake Lyman, Christian Skelton. Final hour on this Reaction Monday, brought to you by Pella Windows and Doors of Nashville. We are broadcasting from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville Studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. SEC Media Days getting underway today down in Tampa. We talked a lot of Tennessee in the last hour. Talk some Kentucky to end the hour. Those are the two teams going in the afternoon session today. And do want to apologize, Christian. Thank you for correcting me. Mark Stoops, the previous coach at Kentucky. I mixed up my brothers there. I'm going to start calling.
Easy to do.
I'll start calling Shane Beamer Frank Beamer tomorrow when we talk about South Carolina. But Jeff on the text line, I think asked a good question here. Before we get into Missouri and Oklahoma, he said, you said UK needs to show patience with the new coach and tough schedule. With a new athletic director and today's win now atmosphere, how long would you expect their patience to last? And I think that's a good question because pretty much across all sports, and there's always been a little bit of a win now mentality across sports. And I think slowly it's just gotten much of the timelines have shrunk down, whether it's for quarterbacks, whether it's for coaches. Everybody wants you to figure it out, and there's no time for waiting around and development of players or coaches. I do think that Kentucky, though, had to look at their situation, and they were patient with Mark Stoops, and they seem to not have super high expectations year over year, but they decided, you know what, we want to go get somebody who's an up-and-comer. And when you go get a guy like that, I don't think that you can expect him to just turn things around in 1 year. Let's talk about like his mentor, the guy he just coached under, Dan Lanning. Oregon got off to a really slow start his first year. I remember I talked about this last week, I think. His first game there was against his former team in Georgia, and they just got run out of Mercedes-Benz Stadium by the Bulldogs. They shouldn't have been on the same field as them. Now they're a consistent contender. They were the number 1 seed in the playoff 2 years ago. I do think when you're bringing in an up-and-coming guy like Will Stein, who is a first-time head coach, it's like you're going to give him a couple of years to get things settled. Honestly, a lot of what he's doing and the progress you're seeing might be coming on the recruiting trail more than it's coming on the football field in the first year or two.
Yeah, I mean, he's recruiting very well for Kentucky standards right now. And personally, I think the best thing Will Stein has going for him right now, as far as how much patience they're going to have, is the fact that Mark Pope is there. And I think all the boosters and the big money donors, I think all their attention is going to be on basketball until that gets taken care of.
That is a very good point. That at a school like Kentucky, and I mean, you could say the same thing about Duke and North Carolina. Sometimes the football coach will get a free pass if the basketball team is not playing very well. So that is a very good point that I think Mark Pope there's only one hot seat in Kentucky right now, and Mark Pope is firmly on it. So Will Stein is going to have a few years to figure out what he needs to get done. But Kentucky, again, we just talked about it. Like, there is a way to show progress without actually having more wins in 2026, just given how difficult the schedule is. But let's get over to Missouri here. Your favorite guy, Eli Drinkwitz.
Oh, I love him.
Every year, I think Missouri's the same. Missouri is always, it's the number 17 Missouri Tigers. Every year, they're just kind of in that 8-win, maybe they get to 9-win range, but they can never really get over the hump. And obviously, horrible situation with Ahmad Hardy and having a gunshot wound that he's had to recover from. Although Eli Drinkwitz did say that he has been medically cleared to practice. You know, we'll see what the entire return to play process looks like, but he is allowed to go out there and practice with the team. But Ahmad Hardy is the best thing Missouri has going for them this year, is that as long as he can get healthy and is ready to go, they could have a superstar running back. I just wonder, is Missouri always going to be okay with just being kind of on the outside looking in? Because on a 12-team playoff, I think that's kind of where Missouri is going to live with Drinkwitz, is like, oh, you're a good team, but you're not good enough.
I kind of tend to agree. And I mean, they'll pop off a 10-win year every now and then, like they did, and I guess that would have been 23 when they beat Ohio State in the Cotton Bowl. But Yeah, I mean, speaking to your point of, the Missouri 17th in the country, and then they just fall off. I have them starting 6-2 and then losing 4 straight in the year to go 6-6. So I think that would be the perfect thing for Missouri to do as far as how their program usually goes.
Yeah, I mean, you look at their early season schedule, it's palatable. You got Arkansas, Pine Bluff, at Kansas, which
I have no idea anything about Kansas.
I don't know a ton about Kansas.
Missouri will win it.
I mean, they're not the worst team in the country anymore, the worst Power 4 team like they were for years. Troy, Mississippi State. So realistically, you're 4-0. Then you get into a little bit tougher. Florida, honestly, at home, you probably win that one. You're 5-0. Then A&M and Ole Miss back-to-back. I think you're right. I think they start 6-2. Maybe they beat Kentucky.
I had Kentucky winning that one just because I was like, Kentucky's not going to go 3-9, surely.
I think they're again an 8-4 or a 7-5 team. Like, I think that's just, and at Missouri, that might be good enough. I don't know any like diehard Missouri fans. Are you hoping that he finally takes you to the next level? Sure. But I think Eli Drinkwitz has kind of found his little pocket where it's like, we're going to be solid. We're not going to get pushed around in the SEC, but we're also not going to be good enough to ever go play for a championship.
Well, the weird thing with Missouri is like, it's a different scenario, obviously, but like, I feel like what kept Derek Mason around at Vanderbilt for a lot of the time was he beat Tennessee a lot. He really beat Tennessee a lot. Yeah. And I feel like that gave him a lot more time than he, probably could have gotten if not for that. Missouri, who's their biggest rival? Kansas. They don't play them every year. So
it's a border war.
Arkansas, I guess. But I mean,
Arkansas, maybe Oklahoma.
They manufactured a trophy for the Arkansas game that I'm still don't even really consider that a rivalry. But I mean, I guess that's their biggest rival. But like, do they even really care if they beat Arkansas every year? So like, it's hard for me to know like what they truly care about, if that makes sense. Like, will they actually be mad if they just can't getting over the hump?
Right.
Like I don't know.
No, it's true. Like with Missouri, I think Missouri is kind of an example of they've got a lot of rivals, but none of their rivals consider them their biggest rival, right? Like Oklahoma has 2 rivals they would say are bigger than Missouri. But like, I think you could realistically say that they're at least close enough that there could be a rivalry there. Same with Arkansas. Like, yeah, sure, that's a rivalry. But you're right. Like, what do fans care about? Do we have any Missouri fans listening who could let us know, like, what's the pulse check on Missouri football right now? Are you good with what Eli Drinkwitz has done and where it's heading? Because he's had some really good teams, like the teams the last, like Luther Burden and Cook, Brady Cook at quarterback. Like, they've been fine. They had 11 wins in 2023. You're right. They won the Cotton Bowl. They were a top 10 team. They had 10 wins in 2024. Like, those teams with Cook and Burden, and they had a decent defense. They were solid. But I just don't see this team ever being like a team you're looking at and saying, man, Missouri's dangerous this year. I think they're just going to be okay.
I cannot for the life of me remember the running back's name that played for Missouri that just absolutely torched Tennessee that day.
Let's see.
I can see I think he played for the Niners on their practice squad for a little bit.
Yeah, that sounds
Cody
right.
Something maybe.
Let me see.
I almost said Cody Campbell. That's not it.
Cody Schrader.
Cody Schrader.
Schrader. Yeah, those were good teams
Tennessee
in 2023. Yeah. But I think you found the ceiling with Drinkwitz. So
they would have been a playoff team if it existed. But
right, like, I mean, I don't know. Like, we talk about Tennessee and we get a ton of Tennessee fans texting in with what their expectations are for the season. Kentucky, we've gotten a decent amount of people texting in. With Missouri, I don't think there's really a Missouri fan base around here. So I don't know. I don't know what Missouri wants, but I just think Drinkwitz, I think you found his ceiling, and it's a team that's going to be on the outside looking in.
Missouri is one of the few teams in this conference where I don't think I know a single person who cheers for them, which is kind of crazy to say considering, I think pretty much every other team for the most, A&M probably not, but pretty much every other team, I at least know somebody that cheers for them.
Well, like Nashville has so many overlapping SEC fan bases, but Missouri just isn't one of the big ones, right? Like, you've got a pretty decent contingent of Auburn fans here, and Ole Miss, and of course Kentucky, and then Tennessee and Vanderbilt. Like, there's a lot of fan bases here. Missouri's just not one of them.
The most out of place team in the SEC, in my opinion.
Yeah, I guess, are they the, like, regionally, I guess they are the furthest northwest
They're
of
probably
the SEC
furthest
teams?
away from because like Oklahoma at least is kind of near Texas and Texas A&M. I don't know.
Like,
Geography's kind of weird there,
I think if you look at the geography, at the very least, like if you split the United States into quadrants, all of them would be in the southeast quadrant.
at least the
like-
SEC has remained somewhat diligent
Right.
about that.
It's moderate, but yeah, Columbia, Missouri is about as central as it gets. So yeah, I mean, I agree with you. They are the most out of place, even though, yeah, on a map, the SEC still at least looks regional, unlike the rest of the conferences. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. We'll take your thoughts on our phone and text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Again, the teams up at SEC Media Days today: Tennessee, Kentucky, Missouri, and Oklahoma. We'll talk Sooners coming up next, a playoff team from a year ago. Do they have a repeat performance in them? With Brett Venables and John Mateer. Jake Lyman and Christian Skelton with you on this Monday morning. Next man up, 102.5 The Game. Next man up, 102.5 The Game. Jake Lyman, Christian Skelton with you. A few more segments left on this Reaction Monday. It is SEC Media Days week. Always one of the more, I guess, entertaining weeks of the summer, considering what else we have to talk about. And the first 4 of 16 teams going today, including Tennessee. We talked a lot about Tennessee in the 10 a.m. hour. If you missed it, you can check it out on our podcast. But wrapping up, we've talked about 3 of the 4 teams. Let's talk Oklahoma. They made the playoff last year, went 10-2, ended up losing to Alabama in that 8-9 matchup. So this Oklahoma team, it's good. It's good. And you bring back a starting quarterback. Brett Venables has turned Oklahoma from a Big 12 team that doesn't play defense to one of the better defenses in college football last year. You've got Parker Livingstone coming over across the rivalry. Okay, he was at Texas last year, right?
I believe so.
I want to say he was.
I think that was who that was. Yeah.
And then you've got John Mateer coming back. He wasn't healthy all of last season, but when he was healthy early on in the year, he looked really good. So I think Oklahoma, this is an opportunity for them to build off of a strong year last year. And I think Brett Venables probably feels a lot more secure in his job safety this year than he did heading into last season.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, last year he was if it wasn't, I was about to say Shane Beamer. I'm thinking this year. He was pretty much the number. He was last year's Shane Beamer. That's the best way to say that. He was last year's Shane Beamer heading into the year where it was kind of like, they better have a good year.
And they did.
Gone. Yep.
And they did. Like they needed a big year, but this year, I mean, the schedule, we're going to go through all of these teams' schedules and say they're tough, but like this one early on especially is tough. You get UTEP to start, but then you're at Michigan playing in the Big House as your non-con game, which most of the Power 4 non-con games in the SEC, cupcake's not the right word, but it's like you're not playing Michigan on the road.
You're playing,
Georgia Tech,
Vanderbilt's playing NC State.
Yeah, or
Wake Forest.
Right, like one of those teams that it's like, yeah, they're not bad. They're a Power 4 team, but it's a game you should win. I don't know if I would say Oklahoma should win on the road at Michigan. Then your opener in the SEC is at Georgia. Then you play Texas in the Red River Shootout. So there's a chance you're 2-3 and already have more losses this year than you did last year before you hit mid-October when you host Kentucky. So it's not going to be easy. If Oklahoma wants to make a return trip to the playoff, they're going to have to win at least one of those 3 games. And, Michigan is not – it's not the Michigan of 2 years ago, 3 years ago.
It's hard for me to predict that game because of that, because I just don't know what to think about him. Obviously Underwood's coming back, but I mean, first year under Whittingham, there might be some growing pains there.
Right.
I mean, obviously winning the Big House is tough, but like, I don't know. I don't know what to think about that game.
Right. You would think that Michigan is going to be better this year with Bryce Underwood having a year under his belt. And, I like Whittingham. I do. I think Utah obviously is a very different job than Michigan, but I think he's a good coach. But starting your SEC slate with Georgia and Texas, neither of those games being at home it's not easy. It's not easy. I would say those are the 2 best teams in the SEC heading into the year.
I'd say I mean, if you went and looked at I don't know what they are, but if you went and looked at the betting odds right now for SEC championship, I'd say they're probably 1 and 2.
Texas, Georgia,
I would assume. I mean, at least Texas. By the way, thank you for calling it the Red River Shootout. That is what it is, and that's what it will forever be. I don't care if they're trying to cancel that. It's Red River Shootout.
Yep.
But yeah, at least that's the one game where it's a neutral site, and that game always has some crazy moments, I feel like, and has some crazy outcomes.
It does.
I mean, the better team has not won that game many years over the years.
Right.
I feel like. I mean, even last year, I know Texas was probably still favored point spread wise in that game, but they came in like 3-2. Oklahoma was undefeated.
Right.
And I know all the Mateer stuff happened, but still, that game's a game that's always a coin flip for me, just because you never know what can happen, and the split crowd down the middle. Right. So
it's
you never know.
One of the cooler traditions in all of sports. We talk about on the show all the time that we don't like neutral site games. That one is an exception. I like that neutral site game.
Amen.
With Texas and Oklahoma.
Much better than Georgia and Florida, in my opinion.
Yeah, which I guess they can't play that in Jacksonville for the next few years.
Perfect opportunity for them to finally take that game on campus. No, we're going to play in Atlanta and Tampa.
Right.
It makes a lot of sense, guys. Good job.
Yeah, I think you're right. It would be a great opportunity for them to just put that on campus sites for a few years and see how it goes. If you get to the end of that stretch and the Jaguars have renovated their stadium and you're like, yeah, we want to go back there. Great, but it would have been an opportunity to play a home and home, one in Athens, one in Gainesville. It's what, the world's biggest cocktail party?
Yeah, that's one thing that always annoyed me about Georgia growing up. Is just like, wow, y'all never have to play in the swamp. That must be nice.
Yeah,
and vice versa for Florida. Honestly, you never
right.
have to
Yeah,
play in Athens. That
you don't
must
have
be
to play
nice.
between the hedges. So, with Oklahoma, the start to this season is going to be the crucial part of it. In your first 5 games, you play at Michigan, at Georgia, and Texas at the Texas State Fair. So realistically, could be 2 and 3, and the schedule eases up after that. You get Kentucky, Mississippi State, South Carolina, Florida, Ole Miss, A&M at home, and then Missouri to end the year. Like it's not unrealistic to think if Oklahoma can just steal one of those 3 games, they could possibly be back in the playoff next year. But that start to the season is going to be big. You need John Mateer to be healthy, and you need him to be playing his best football like he did early in the season. I mean, they beat Michigan last year early on in the year. So I'm excited to see what Oklahoma looks like. I think they're going to be one of those upper middle of the pack SEC teams that's competing to get into the back of the end of the playoffs again.
Yeah, it seems to me looking at this, their best path back to the playoff is like you said, beat that stretch, go undefeated that stretch of Kentucky, Mississippi State, South Carolina, Florida,
Yep.
Ole Miss, A&M, Missouri, and then win one of Texas, Michigan, and Georgia, which I think is doable. I think it's very doable.
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to happen based on what I have here, but
I'm
honestly
think they're
kinda,
probably an 8-4 team.
I have that, but I think I might go back and make it 9-3. I think I might have them beating Michigan just because
they could beat Michigan. Yeah.
Yeah. Or Texas. I could see them winning either of those 2 games.
Right.
So.
Yeah, because you're right. In those rivalry games, especially that rivalry, Texas is the more talented team. I mean, they've got first round picks up and down that lineup. There is a realistic shot. Arch Manning would be the one that I'm least confident in, but as of now, people are projecting him as the number 1 overall pick. There's a chance that Texas has 4 of the top 10 picks in the NFL draft on their team this year, with Cam Coleman, Arch Manning, Trevor Gooseby, and Colin Simmons. Like, all those guys could be top 10 picks. So I think they're going to be one of the most talented teams, but they were really talented last year too, and they missed the playoffs. So we will see. Oklahoma, the final team for us to check on that's speaking today. Again, Tennessee going to speak this afternoon. Right now it's Missouri and Oklahoma going. It'll be Tennessee and Kentucky later. So make sure to stay tuned here on 102.5 The Game for all of your SEC Media Day coverage. Tomorrow, Vanderbilt goes. Clark Lee will take the podium. Junior Sherrill's there. Cedric Alexander, Issa Wataha. We will talk plenty of Vandy tomorrow on the show. As well as Auburn, Georgia, South Carolina. That's an interesting trio of teams as well. South Carolina, we just talked about Shane Beamer. Big year for him to try and prove that he can keep his job and get South Carolina back to where they were 2 years ago. And honestly, Georgia, can the SEC get back to being a national championship conference? I mean, 3 straight years where the Big Ten's won it. The SEC hasn't even played for a national championship in 3 years. So can Georgia, Texas, Alabama, LSU, some of those teams towards the top change that this year? 615-737-1025 is the phone number. We'll continue to take your thoughts on our phone text line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. 30 more minutes left to go in the show. Jake Lyman, Christian Skelton, next man up. You're on 102.5 The Game. Next man up, 102.5 The Game. Jake Lyman, Christian Skelton with you. SEC Media Days rolling along down in Tampa. Oklahoma, Missouri up there this morning. Tennessee, Kentucky this afternoon. Did you see the Drinkwitz quote, Christian, on why the Big Ten has won 3 straight national titles?
I did not, but I'm excited for this.
Drinkwitz says a big reason why the Big Ten has won 3 straight national championships is because they don't schedule a non-conference Power 4 game.
I mean, for the most part, he's not completely wrong. I mean, Indiana didn't have one last year, so.
I understand, like, the point he's trying to make, but the SEC had, what, 5 teams in the playoff last year?
Yeah, I mean,
Alabama got skunked by Indiana.
The way you said it's probably the better way. The point is correct, but I don't know if it's the reason, probably.
Right. Like, I get what he's saying of, like, the SEC strength of schedule. And I am a staunch supporter of the SEC plays a tougher conference schedule than the Big Ten does because, and I'm just asking for Dr. Locke to call us, but the Big Ten, you're going to have games probably on every team's schedule. You're going to play 2 or 3 games against Purdue, Maryland, Rutgers. I'm trying to think of other bad. Wisconsin's been horrible the last couple of years.
I was going to say Illinois, and that would have been really funny.
Because Bielema's been really good. Yeah. Illinois came to my mind. I was like, no, they've actually been good. But you get the point. There are bad Big Ten teams. I wouldn't say there are bad SEC teams. There are SEC teams that are below average, as there is in every conference, right? Some teams are going to be better than others. But if I had to be given the choice between your easy games being Purdue, Rutgers, Maryland versus Auburn, Arkansas, and Mississippi State, like, I would take playing Purdue, Rutgers, and Maryland. I think that's more of the reason that the Big Ten and their good teams have been able to dominate is you're not playing Ohio State every week. Yeah, you've got 1 or 2 really tough games when you face Ohio State or you face Oregon or you face Indiana or Michigan. Obviously, Penn State for years. But in the SEC, we just looked at Kentucky's schedule, and it's like it's just a gauntlet. There's no gimmies on that schedule. So I do think that that's a large reason, but there's a reason there's a playoff, right? Like, it's not like they're just awarding Indiana the national championship because they were the number 1 seed. No, they went and crushed Alabama. They crushed Miami. Well, not crushed. It was a tighter game, but they beat Miami pretty soundly, who had just beaten Ole Miss the week before. Like, the SEC needs to start playing its best football when it matters. And that's been the issue. It's less about your non-conference scheduling. It's more about they just haven't been able to win the big games in December and January the last 2 years.
And if he was going to make the scheduling point, the better point would have just been that the SEC just cannibalizes itself. I mean,
yeah.
It wasn't as much last year from a standpoint of how many teams they got in the playoff, obviously, but it's still a thing you see every year. I mean, especially this year. I mean, just looking at the way the schedule's worked out and how many different good teams I think there are going to be this year.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at down the line, I mean, there's not many teams where you can't see at least somewhat of a path to them maybe making a run at a playoff appearance. So, I mean, I think it's just there are much more playoff caliber teams in the SEC than there are in the Big Ten. I think that's the biggest reason why it is the way it is.
It's deeper. And we've seen that the top end talent for the Big Ten has been better than the top end talent for the SEC the last few years. I don't think anyone will debate that. I mean, you've seen 3 straight years, Michigan, Ohio State, Indiana, have rolled to national championships, and the SEC hasn't even played for a national championship. But you're right. It's like the further down you go in the SEC, you're not getting easy games. Like, we didn't mention Northwestern talking about the Big Ten too. It's like even Vanderbilt, who, Nick Saban said like Vandy was the team that was easy to go play. That's not the case anymore. Like, Vandy won 10 games. They won 6 games in the SEC last year. They upset Alabama 2 years ago. So there aren't games that you can go into where you're just like, if we just show up for this one, we'll be okay. I think there are a few in the Big Ten for Ohio State and teams of that caliber in Oregon where it's like, if you show up for this game, you're going to win. Rutgers, Northwestern, Purdue, they're not going into those games scared that they're going to get upset. I feel like if LSU goes to Auburn and has to play on the Plains. Yeah, Auburn's not the better team, but that's not an easy place to go win.
Yeah, I feel like the lesser teams in the SEC have taken a step up too, as far as like,
Right.
Playing. I mean, well, obviously Vanderbilt's the example everybody uses, but I mean, playing a Mississippi State or I'm trying to Kentucky's perfect one. Playing Kentucky, 10 years ago. Well, probably longer than that. Playing Kentucky 15 years ago was a lot easier than it is playing Kentucky now. And it kind of reminds me of SEC basketball where 10, 15 years ago, a three bid league for the SEC was a great year.
Right.
And now that is not the case. I mean, most years it's like 11, 12, 13, 14 teams in there. And it's just because there's just a larger buy-in from donors and just the athletic department as a whole for both sports.
Yeah, I think for football, it's like the SEC has all kind of gotten closer together. The really good teams and the really bad teams are much closer than they used to be. With the Big Ten, I think you have haves and have-nots, and that's the difference there. But you got to go win in those head-to-head matchups when you get into the playoff. I'm not going to use bowl games as examples because that's what Big Ten fans love to do. It's, Michigan beat Alabama in a bowl game, and Iowa beat Vandy in a bowl game. I don't use the bowl games as reasons that a conference is better, but you can use playoffs, and the Big Ten has been better in the playoffs the last couple of years. So for the SEC, I think this is the year they got to get back to being a national championship. Like somebody's got to at least play for the national championship. And I think you look at Georgia, you look at Texas as the two teams that you would put up towards the top there. And then I think there are teams that are kind of hit or miss, like LSU. I don't know what LSU is going to be. Do they have the talent to go be a team that can make a deep playoff run? Sure. Yeah, they do. I think Alabama, you could say the same thing. They've got the talent, but you got to go see it. I do think Georgia and Texas, and we'll talk a lot about Georgia tomorrow, they've got to go prove that they can go compete for national championships like they did half a decade ago.
Yeah, I mean, you see, when I look at the national championship contenders, I know we're kind of trying to focus on the SEC right now, but I really want to buy into Oregon. Like, I really want to buy into Oregon,
like Dan Lanning.
And I'm just like, but I haven't seen it. So it's almost like I have to see it to believe it. Kind of like, it's not a perfect comparison, obviously, because like we said earlier, two completely different sports. Oregon's the Bills of college football to me. Where it's just like, until I see it, like I really want to believe. I really want to buy into it. But until I see it, it's just like, I don't know if I truly can.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you there of like Oregon is the team that you're rooting for to finally get over the hump. And it's just like you kind of know that they're going to get to a point where they're just not going to get it done. So I agree with you. I love Dan Lanning, and getting Dante Moore back is huge for that team. I mean, you've got an established quarterback who was, he wasn't great in that game against Indiana, and the pick six right off the bat really kind of it put them behind the eight ball, and they couldn't get out of the way of that just buzzsaw that was Indiana football last year. Crazy to say. But Oregon is definitely one of the more talented teams in the country. I mean, I think you look at national championship contenders this year. I think Georgia and Texas stand out in the SEC. I think in the Big Ten, it's Indiana, Oregon, Ohio State. Those would be the three that I'd highlight there. And then I think you can put Miami into the conversation. They played for it last year. They've still got a lot of talent coming back. They've brought in more players. They have Darian Mensah. I think I would probably pick from one of those six teams, unless I'm missing somebody completely. I think those are the six.
I agree. If I was to pick right now, I'd probably say Ohio State, Oregon would be my national championship game if I had to pick right now, which would definitely not be great for the SEC. That would not be ideal at all. So hopefully, I almost said hopefully it doesn't happen that way. But I've never been a huge conference pride guy. Like if Georgia's playing Oregon, I'm going to cheer for Oregon. Or if Texas, it might be a little bit different. Like Texas, but especially if it's like one of Tennessee's main rivals, I can't cheer for them.
I'm not a big conference pride guy either. Like
I cheered for Ole Miss last year though, like because Ole Miss isn't a team, the talent Tennessee fan. I have no problem with Ole Miss. So.
I think it depends on the team, right?
For
like
sure.
if it's one of your team's rivals, like I wouldn't root for Virginia in any. There is absolutely nothing that could make me root for Virginia.
You're welcome for knocking them out in the tournament.
Thank you. Yeah. Well, that one was a tough one for me because I'm not a huge Tennessee guy
this is
either.
True. I didn't think about that.
But Virginia is the team I grew up. It was the biggest rival. So no, I agree with you. I'm not a huge conference pride guy either, but I do think for the SEC, if you're going to stick out your chest and you're going to talk about how you're the best conference, and I think it's true. I think the SEC is the highest quality of football top to bottom across college football. But if you're not doing it on the biggest stage and you're not beating the Big Ten when it matters most, you're not going to be able to keep making these claims that you're the best conference in college football. So I think this is the year that they've got to go. They got to go get one.
Yeah, and like we said, I get. I would probably. It's weird. Like I think if I was to pick an SEC champion right now, just without looking at the schedules and everything, I'd probably pick Texas. But if I was to pick the team with the best chance to win the national championship in the SEC, I'd probably pick Georgia.
Yeah.
And I guess it's just because they've done it before. They've got that championship.
You believe
pedigree.
in Kirby Smart more than Steve Sarkisian.
Yeah.
And I think I agree with that too. I like Gunnar Stockton, and Gunnar Stockton's played in playoff games each of the last 2 years since Carson Beck got hurt 2 years ago. So I agree. I think if I had to pick a team from the SEC that I think can win a national championship, I think Georgia would be the team. But Texas, definitely talented enough to do it. But, you've got to see it. You've got to see it.
Gunnar Stockton put a dagger in my chest on September, whatever the date that game was.
That is true. That is true. And we're going to talk Vandy, Georgia tomorrow, along with Auburn and South Carolina. That Vandy, Georgia game, I said it a couple weeks ago when we were listing off the top 10 games. Vandy, Georgia in Athens at the beginning of October is going to be fun, especially if Jared Curtis
probably
is
underrated on a national level too.
I think so too. I think just the storyline of Jared Curtis in his second SEC game playing against the team that he flipped from. I think it'd be great as long as he is the starting quarterback. 615-737-1025 is the phone number if you want to text or call. They're showing the times of interest for Kentucky and Tennessee on SEC Network right now. Josh Heupel going to take the podium shortly before 2 Central Time. He'll be on set on SEC Network around 3:40 Central Time. So if you're a Tennessee fan who wants to watch that, he is making his way into SEC Media Days right now.
He is the most auralist man I've ever seen in my life.
Oh my gosh. I love it. I love it. He
just suit undone, tie just dangling. Look at him. Looks like he hadn't slept in weeks.
Making his entrance right now. So Tennessee will take the stage later on today. Again, if you want to see him speak at the podium or on set, shortly before 2 p.m. Central Time on SEC Network, and then right after about 3:30, he should be on there. 615-737-1025. We got one more segment on the show. We'll wrap it up after this. Jake Lyman, Christian Skelton, next man up, 125 The Game. Next man up, 102.5 The Game, finishing up the show on this Reaction Monday. Jake Lyman, Christian Skelton with you. Again, it's a little out of whack with vacations this week. Christian's been filling in admirably with Parker on vacation this week. It's been a fun show so far.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I've been having fun. I'm doing what I can here. Definitely running on fumes. You don't always get a lot of sleep when you got to be here at 5:30.
Right. Yeah.
So
you pulled double duty
can.
today. So we appreciate it. We'll do it again tomorrow. Excited. We're going to have Julian Minensone from News 2 on tomorrow to talk some Titans. Andrew Allegretta going to join us live from SEC Media Days to talk some Vandy as they take their turn at the podium tomorrow. So excited for that starting at 9 a.m. You're a wrestling guy, right, Christian?
I am. I've the interest as of late has not been very high, to be completely honest, but I've been trying.
So I'm not a big wrestling guy. I've tried because Connor and Chase and Adam and a lot of people who work at the station are big wrestling guys. It's never been my thing. I never got into it as a kid. But have you seen that Tom Brady seems to be teasing that he's going to make I guess he's going to become a WWE wrestler of some sort?
Yes, because he's been, doing the whole thing with Logan Paul this week. And I'm just like, okay, yes, this is exactly what wrestling fans want to see. We want to watch Logan Paul wrestle Tom Brady. This is exactly what all of us have been. Forget Hart Austin, forget, Michaels Austin, forget all the awesome matches in the history of wrestling.
Right.
When I think of awesome matches, I think of Tom Brady versus Logan Paul. That's what I think of.
Yeah. I mean, I look at it and I say, and I saw this from a PFT article. Is there anybody in Tom Brady's ear telling him, why are you doing this? Like, you are the greatest football player of all time, the most accomplished football player of all time. And you have a great legacy. You're making millions of dollars to call games on TV. Do you need to go do WWE? Like, is that something that he needs to do?
He obviously just really wants to, I guess.
I guess.
Why, I don't know, but
I mean, I thought the roast was funny when he did that. Like, I mean, that's something that you do after you retire. And it's like you get into the more pop culture type of thing. But like, man, this just feels so out of left field for Tom Brady to just be like this dude who's, flipping the bird at Logan Paul during the World Cup final yesterday. Like, I just don't understand
see that video. I just saw the
you didn't see
slapping.
that?
I just saw him slapping each other at Fanatics Fest.
Yeah.
So that happened yesterday?
Yeah. So like, it's been a whole thing this week with them. And is it Michael Rubin, the Fanatics guy, who's kind of in his ear? I don't know. I thought that was really strange. Like, Tom Brady, you are, again, maybe the greatest athlete of our generation. Like, somebody's going to say like LeBron and sure, but like in terms of accomplishments in the highest level of sport over the last 25 years, it's Tom Brady.
It's definitely
right.
Brady.
He's won 6 Super Bowls. Do you need to go get into wrestling? Do you need to do all this stuff? I feel like it's super unnecessary for Tom Brady, and he needs somebody to be in his ear telling him, hey, maybe this doesn't fit your brand that you need to be going for post-retirement.
Is he just bored? Maybe.
Maybe.
I mean, he had the
maybe
divorce,
that's it.
Maybe he's just bored and he just wants something to do, and he's like, "Oh, this will give me something." Maybe he's one of these guys where it's just like, I could sit, and if this is his answer, it's fair and respectable, I suppose.
Yeah.
A lot of guys, when they retire, it's like, I need something to work towards. Maybe his thing to work towards right now is get ring ready. And I'm like, you know what? If that's the case, fair enough, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, isn't like the broadcasting stuff enough? Like, what, at least that's what I would think.
Maybe he's just bored in the off season, I guess.
Maybe. Yeah. And he's gotten better. He has as a broadcaster. Like, his first few games, as you would expect, it wasn't great, like stepping into a new role. And I think a lot of people were upset that he was immediately thrust onto the top team for Fox. And because Greg Olson had been very good in that role until Tom Brady was hired. But he's gotten a lot better. I enjoy listening to Tom Brady call games, and I think that's something that he can work towards and continue to get better. Do you need to be a wrestler? Like, I don't get it. But we will see what all of this leads to. Everybody becoming like the Pat McAfee stuff in the WWE, I thought was
so
stupid.
Disgusting.
I'm not a WWE person. I tried to watch WrestleMania 2 years ago. Like, I tried to sit down, and it was the things that they do are very impressive. Like these guys are athletes. The guys and girls, they are great athletes. I can't get into it knowing that it's all scripted.
It's fair. I mean, at least you're not like, why do you watch that? It's fake. Because everybody I that ever says that, you know what my response to is? I say yes. So is every show and movie you've ever watched in your entire life.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you tried it and you just couldn't get into it, that's respectable.
That's what I always say. I'm not the fun police. I am not going to tell somebody what they can and can't enjoy. You go do what you want to do. But I don't understand it. Like, for me personally, I don't understand. It's like the Savannah Bananas thing. Like, I don't understand why they sell out stadiums and who's going to those games. But if you want to go to those games, more power to you. It's your life. You enjoy what you want to enjoy. So I'm not going to say I think wrestling's stupid. It's just not my thing. And I don't know why Tom Brady feels like he needs to do this. Craig says his legacy is secure. Maybe he just wants to have fun. Sure. Yeah, I guess like that. You're right. Maybe he could be bored and this is something that's like spicing up his life. I feel like this is something for a guy of his caliber, an athlete of his caliber. It just feels like it's beneath him. Like, I don't want that to sound as like I'm not trying to look down on wrestling. I'm just saying for somebody as popular as him and as successful as him, that just feels like something he doesn't need to stoop down to.
I think you can say beneath him without it being a shot
right.
at wrestling.
I'm not trying to take a shot at wrestling.
Fair.
I'm just saying as the greatest quarterback of all time, like, I just don't think that's
It'd be like Michael Jordan going to play for the Globetrotters. Like,
right. Yeah. Like that's
like
that's kind of the same thing. John says Brady's card values are going nuts because of the PR. Maybe that's part of it too. It's just like keeping your name out there in the limelight for Tom Brady. I mean, we talk about it all the time with some of these athletes. It's can be tough to go back out of the spotlight. Like, look at LeBron right now. Like, what is LeBron doing? Pick a team. You're in your 40s. Pick a team.
They were joking on Robbie and Rexford today. They're like, oh, Ward Manuel's stepping down. He's not going to do it today. The spotlight will be all to himself. That's
right.
Not happening today now.
Well, it's just like, it's like the Aaron Rodgers thing where Rodgers was just milking it and like, am I going to play this year? Am I not going to play this year? It's like, just make a decision. You're not Aaron Rodgers of 7 years ago. Like, you playing doesn't have that big of an impact on the Steelers or the NFL. It's the same with LeBron. I know everybody loves LeBron. Wherever LeBron goes, that doesn't make them a championship contender. Like, unless he was just going to the Thunder or the Spurs or something. Like, if he goes to the Heat, they're going to be a good team in the East. If he goes to the Cavaliers, they're going to be a good team in the East. It's just, you're milking it for no reason. Like, the NBA is having to wait to put out their national TV schedule because they don't know where LeBron is going. Just make a decision.
He does not care. I can tell you that right. He could not care less. He's like, I don't care. By the way, off topic, but Vanderbilt, they've updated the key player stats for Jared Curtis. There's nothing there now. Oh. Now it says #1 freshman quarterback.
There you go.
He does have a stat now.
Yeah, we thought that was funny looking at the SEC Media Day coverage. It was said key players for Vandy and their stats, and it was just Jared Curtis, and it was blank. It was like, he's just there.
No stats.
Yeah. I mean, I think Jared Curtis is going to be the starter. Like, I don't know. Like, they're going to go through camp. Berlowitz definitely is a good player, but it seems like the SEC is going to, like, he's going to get a lot of questions about Jared Curtis tomorrow.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, it's a national story considering, Vanderbilt. Imagine telling somebody like 10 years ago, hey, Vanderbilt's going to flip
right
a 5-star quarterback from Georgia, like at the last second. Like, you never would have expected that. So I mean,
it's
a big story.
Right. Like, Vandy coming off a 10-win season with the #1 quarterback recruit in the country was not realistic a few years ago. That wraps things up for us. Fun show today. We will be back tomorrow, 9 a.m. Vandy takes the stage at SEC Media Days. We'll have Andrew Allegretta on to talk all about it and much more. Chase and Big Joe are coming up next. You're on 102.5 The Game.